Hey, people. How's it going today? This Wednesday, February the 11th, 2026, Anno Domini. How's everybody doing today? I'm doing all right myself. Ended up, you ever appreciate in life when things just kind of go your way? You know, things just kind of work out in your favor. I appreciate that. And the same is true. Oh, hey, how's it going, Krista? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well today. But yeah, suffice it to say, I had a pretty similar experience myself. I kind of mentioned on occasion on other shows that I got this issue going on with my vent making noise, driving us up the wall at night. You know, typical rental issues and the such. But I thought that we weren't going to be able to get that issue taken care of for another 3 weeks. And the reason why I thought we weren't going to get it taken care of for another 3 weeks is because the person who manages this property management company was on vacation. And the only person that was left there was their assistant. But you know what? Credit where credit is due. This assistant actually seems to kind of have a conscience. Because upon telling them that we're feeling a bit frustrated over the fact that, nothing's really happening, we feel like it's not very fair that we have to pay full price for a unit that we can't peacefully enjoy. So she gives the main big boss a call on their vacation. Probably pissed them off a little bit. I know if I got called on my vacation for work-related shit, I wouldn't necessarily be the happiest person ever. So she kind of stuck her neck out a little bit, advocated for us. And now we've got permission to get some people in here and actually take care of it, rather than having to sit on our hands and wait for an extra 3 weeks. So isn't that nice? Every once in a while, when things in life just kind of work out, I think they are. I think it's pretty cool. Greetings, hello, bonjour, Monsieur Claude. Hope you are doing well today, Monsieur. Enjoying this lovely Wednesday. Pretty good, just doing some cleaning. Well, you know what, Krista? I hope that I can enhance the cleaning experience just a little bit with my live stream. Howdy, Claude. How dare you, Hizzle? I know you greeted me first, but you didn't even greet me again. You greeted Claude. How dare you? Aiden, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Pixie. Good afternoon. Welcome to the stream. Everybody out there right now in the side chat, please give the stream a like if you enjoy it, and it would be much appreciated. Dislike stream. Of course. We've got the is it racist to call Dean the black sheep? Is that right? The Jamaican sheep of the group. Is that more or less politically correct? As I said that, I was like, wait, Jamaican sheep might also be construed as like, I don't know, some sort of like racist term. I don't know. I might be going in the exact opposite direction that I intend on going right now. Whoopsie daisies. I don't see the like button. Well, you know what, Dean? Maybe I just won't be seeing your comments anymore for a little while. Bans, Dean. No, I'm just joking. Hello, Aiden. Oh, he's yelling it at me just in case I didn't hear it. Hello, Aiden! Aiden, can you hear me? This is Professor Hizzle. This is the negotiator for the hostage situation. We understand what you're going through right now, Aiden, is very traumatic, but we just ask that you put the gun down. The bat sheep, more like bat shit, because you're bat shit insane, Dean. That's what you know. I'm just joking. Alrighty. Hi, Aiden. Why doesn't your avatar show up? Oh, for fuck's sakes. Is it really gone again? God damn it. You know what? I'm going to just ashamedly put on the background then for this, because then at least you can actually see my logo. I don't know why my avatar doesn't show up, Big Bad Mama. Every once in a while, StreamYard just does this really cool, really fun thing where it's like, we're going to remove certain elements of what you're trying to do and shuffle things around at random. It's... And, you know, it happens often enough that it can't truly be random, right? It's not like that Belgian woman that got elected by a huge majority because one of the freaking computers that ran the election program ended up getting a bit flip from solar radiation affecting the RAM inside of the computer. You know, it's not an aberration like that, clearly. It's way too consistent to be something like that. Bats are really like sky puppies. Ain't that the truth, Dixie? They're quite adorable when you actually take a look at a bat. And they make little squeaking sounds. Like, how can you hate something that squeaks as its primary form of communication? Seals are water puppies, also very true. I have cannabis and fried foods. We could work this. Aiden! I have, and I kid you not, 3, and I count them right now. 1, 2, 3 orders of Chick-fil-A ready to go right now, all right? If you just let them go, you can have the Chick-fil-A. I got that and 98% THC by volume marijuana cartridges. That's right. I got the good shit. I can't handle that shit. It's like the Everclear of weed. You know? I'm somebody, I call myself a stoner, and don't get me wrong, I am. But, man, I can't tolerate that shit. I have one little bit of that, and I'm Bubba. I'm Bubba. I'm asleep. Unlike Father Charles or Andrew. One of these streams pass out. Or Claude. Oh my gosh. Does anybody else remember those classic Claude? He falls asleep in the stream and you can hear him snoring every once in a while. Yeah. Is it gone for others? I went and checked on YouTube. It seems like it is. Seems like it is. Some of this shit I've bought has been way strong. I mean, it's just kind of like as a rule become stronger though, hasn't it? Like, I don't know, maybe Big Bad Mama can correct me if I'm wrong, but like the shit people were smoking on back in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, it wasn't this strong. It wasn't this strong at all. When I would stay on Santa Fe, there was a small pool outside, and I'd turn on the lamp. I'd imagine turn out the lands and hang out in the pool, and bats would swoop down for after and fly off almost every night. I'm sorry. I get the general gist of what you're saying there, but are you using like talk to text there? I don't know. Maybe I'm just having really poor reading comprehension. You know what? That probably is what it is. You know, look at me. I'm always accusing other people of not using proper introspection, but here I am. Pixie probably said something that was completely coherent, and here I am going, nah, it was Pixie's fault. Pixie just needs to phrase what she said better. Now, Aiden, maybe if you just fucking gave your head a shake. Figured things out. Alrighty. Well, got some stuff. I've got some contento, some very spicy contento for you today. And I figured we would start with the classic opener, right? Trump without Trump. Love me some Trump without Trump. But you know what the good thing about Trump without Trump is to the like Trump without Trump haters out there? Because I know you're out there. I know there's haters out there for that segment. It's consistent, right? You go to a restaurant and they give you something at the very beginning at that restaurant experience that's like, it's a palate cleanse, right? Get a little bit of a wine tasting or something like that. Gets your palate ready to go for the rest of the stream. So with that being said, Trump without Trump, ladies and gentlemen.
It's Trump without Trump. You won't have to listen to his voice or see his face. This quote is unedited and 100% accurate. This is from a rally in Rocky Mount, North Carolina on December 19th, 2025. These are the words of the President of the United States of America. I put up these gorgeous charts, and it says chart. And I'm, sort of talking about the chart. I'm reading into a piece of glass. I got no audience. I got just people, very hostile people, waiting around. And I'm reading into a piece of glass for 22 minutes. And I talk about the chart. The networks didn't put up the charts. Only Fox put up the charts. Fox put them up. In all fairness, well, we get angry at Fox. We have to remember that they put up the charts, so we could start putting them up now if you want. But we put up these beautiful charts that were very similar. But I very much like the chart from Butler, PA. I like that much better. That's my all-time favorite chart. That's a great chart. They're all great charts, but I never liked a chart like that chart I put up in Butler. Let's just take a look at that chart right here. Yeah, it was a good chart. I love that chart so much. I sleep with that chart. But this is okay. There'll never be a great chart for me. It's the only one compared to Butler that your charts stink. But look at that chart. Look at that kind of Biden price increases and Trump price decreases. Look at that. They're all Biden. We're bringing the prices down. Look at that chart. NBC and CBS and ABC, fake news. The fake news. That camera just went off. Sorry about that. Every time I mentioned the camera, you see the red light back there. Bing! Donald J. Trump.
Bing! I mean, you see it go off, folks. You see it go off. What the fuck? This guy. Always the wordsmith, Donald John Trump. That's really what I'm trying to establish, right? Is just how articulate this guy really is. People are like, oh, you're trying to make Trump look bad. All I'm trying to do is showcase, pardon me, the words of the President of the United States. Is that so bad? Is that so bad? I don't think so. Have you done the nuclear speech yet, Aiden? No, I've not. I've not done the nuclear. It's always that's how Bush always pronounced it, right? Nuclear. Way the future. Way the future. Way the future. No wonder Hovind thinks that he can get a Trump pardon. I'm actually kind of surprised. I mean, I'm not super surprised because Hovind is irrelevant, right? As far as like having any kind of like national presence or anything like that. I'm not surprised from that aspect. But Hovind and Trump really do have a lot in common, don't they? They're both grifting businessmen who both claim that they represent a really noble cause, but in reality are just trying to line their pockets, right? Like, they always talk about all these donation drives and getting money and all these different ways that they're trying to get money, and it always ends up going back to money with them, right? Sorry to the one Hovindite that I just saw drop out of the viewership. There's 8 people watching. As soon as I start talking about Hovind, bleep, someone's like, I've had enough of this. Hell no. Like listening to a 4-year-old in slow class. You see, though, like, unironically, that's really why I love Trump without Trump as a segment. Because, yeah, as soon as you divorce your expectation from Trump and listen to those words, it's the best way of highlighting just how completely incoherent they truly are. I'm actually still here. Hey, I didn't say who it was. I didn't know whether or not you were even still watching at this point, Chris. To credit where credit's due. You're still around. I appreciate that. And hey, you appreciate Hovind. I don't appreciate Hovind, right? It's a difference of opinion. It's really all it really amounts to, though, right? Is this a dinosaur Adventureland? That's right. I'm coming over here to Dinosaur Adventureland. We're Baptist, chicken eating something or other. Chicken eating, wife beating. We're a true Baptist church. God, it's been so long. I haven't been up to date on Hovind. I got to be honest with you. It's been a while. It really has been. I'm not somebody that like really follows him all that much. Truth be told, the only source of Hovind I get nowadays is from Claude. I never get recommended his videos from his channel, and I don't really have cause to go out of my way. Maybe I'll do a Hovind segment. I don't know. I might bring it back. I might try to squeeze a little bit of juice out of that lemon before it's all the way down to the rind, you know? I don't know. It's worth a try. That's what early YouTube is all about, as far as when you're early on your YouTube channel, though, right? That's the times where things are rife for experimentation. You know, you think about the butterfly effect, the butterfly effect, right? And the butterfly effect, I cannot say butterfly effect today for some reason. When you think about the mutterby baguette, man, that gubba baguette, man, that thing is crazy when you think about it. No, but when you think about it, though, right? The earlier in the process you affect something, the greater that rippling effect is going to be, right? If you're there early in something, you have a lot more of a chance to be able to affect the totality of the outcome. And that's why everybody should stick around and subscribe to the Aiden Linden YouTube channel. That's right. Make sure to like and share the stream. It's a really horrible segue into trying to do a plug, but hey, I did it. I'm shameless like that. Must have been a big bad mama dropped out after being heavily triggered. He's just had enough. He's had enough. No, I was missing Bod. She's like, oh, he's already talking about politics a whole bunch. But now he's talking about Kent Hovind. I'm out of here. She leaves. I'm just joking, Missing Ma. Please don't kill me. I know you're actually out there. You know, she's always got those thumbnails of like a woman with a sniper rifle. That's exactly what she's doing right now. She's got it trained on me, and she's like, all right, do I pull the trigger now? Or do I wait a little bit? I don't know. Just wait a little bit longer, Mod. I might actually make you laugh once or twice before you kill me in cold blood. Anyways, I wanted to share as the next little blurb of content, somebody put me unawares to a certain community post that a recurring character on this channel made, that being one Lupin Tupin Takes a Poopin'. Let's check that out really briefly. So he says, average mysteries, toxic behavior like joining other streams and talking about people behind their back, ? You know, you fix your toxic traits. You add it on to them. Have a good day. God bless you. Want to respond, feel free to do it like a man and not like belch. A weasel, be a higher person. I'm a person's back. Laughing. Belch emoji. And it's like, okay, let's see what he says, right? I wonder whose chat this is, by the way. I'm just curious. Whose chat who could it be now? I wonder. It couldn't be my chat. No. Spooky would just be saying my name in some random person's chat because he just loves me so heckin' much, you know? He just loves and appreciates me. And, you know, shout out to Spooky, by the way. I don't think I've seen him lurking out there in the chat yet, but that's okay. I know that he's lurking in spirit. And that's all right. But let's see what Proverbs guys had to say here. Lupin doesn't want to put in the hard work and change his toxic behavior to fix his public image. It takes a lot of humble pie eating. But I did it. I mean, Lupin can do it. And think about that, right? Like, what is the actual message that Steven is sending here with that? He's literally saying that, yeah, the very beginning of that comment could be construed as negative, but that's all that Lupin heard, right? As soon as Lupin hears any criticism whatsoever, the second that he hears a single word It's so fascinating to me because he loves hearing people talk about him. But the second that he hears anything that's vaguely critical about him, his brain goes doo 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 doo, just shuts the fuck down. And he's completely incapable of listening to the next syllable that he hears after the first one that he hears that's critical in any way, shape, or form. And this is a perfect example of that. Because what's the last half of the comment? It takes a lot of humble pie eating, but I did it. I mean, Lupin can do it. All he's asking you to do here is own up like a fucking man to the fact that you're a really weird, repressed human being that says a lot of weird shit about people and makes a lot of weird content about people all the damn time and is unliked by the huge majority of the community. And, you know, he always uses the excuse of, oh, well, you know, I'm a Christian, so I'm actually going to be unliked. No, dude. I don't even know why you go around calling yourself a Christian, quite frankly. Like, why? You don't exhibit a single actual attribute of what the Bible tells you to do. Let's see. The Bible tells you to abhor wealth. It tells you that no man can be wealthy and serve God. And it also tells you that it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to go into the kingdom of heaven. And you overtly worship wealth. You worship men of wealth and distinction because of their wealth. You just endlessly repeat their propaganda and talking points. You have no humility whatsoever, as I've demonstrated on these streams, right? Like, when I reviewed your conversation with Raptor, there was like 4 or 5 separate times that you could have literally said that you don't know, which was made obvious, by the way, through the fact that you just answered complete nonsense. Perfect example when he asked you if your parents supported Batista, and you replied with the fact that your parents were anti-communist. Because you don't know who Batista is. You just hear that name, and you assume because it sounds, I don't know, vaguely like Fidel Castro or something like that. I don't know. You just automatically assume that he's a communist. You just fill in the gaps for shit that you don't know about. So let's just cross humility out really quickly. Charity. I've never seen you give a single ounce of credibility to anybody. I've never seen you try to engage in good faith. I've never seen you actually give any kind of material possession or wealth or good to anybody. As a matter of fact, if anything, you're the one that always has your hand out, aren't you? I mean, even before you had a channel big enough with all the bot subscribers that you do, you always had your Cash App up in the corner, didn't you? I wonder, where's my Cash App up in the corner? I don't seem to have one for some reason. It's almost like I'm actually doing this as a hobby instead of attempting to pull a little grift and try to scrape a couple of dollars off of a few suckers that are dumb enough to understand whatever dumb fuck takes I'm attempting to pull together out of my fucking harebrained ass, you know? Like, hey, Pixie Storms, good to see you, ma'am. Hey, Wildheart, good to see you out here in the chat. BS Lewis, you're being too hard on Lupin. He did great in the Super Bowl halftime. Was that him? Was that him? I don't think it was. I don't think. Maybe. Who knows? You know what? I believe that he was Kid Rock before he was Bad Bunny. Truth be told. Because Kid Rock is kind of like Lupin in a way, isn't he? He's the guy that was like, I don't support Bud Light no more because Bud Light had that trans what on the can, Dylan Mulvaney. And he like shoots all the fucking Bud Lights that are all piled up. And the next thing you know, a few months later, when the controversy dies down, he's caught with a Bud Light in his hand. You know? Yeah, going back on everything that you say that that you claim to stand for. There's another example. You know, doesn't Christianity teach that one ought stand in the face of evil, and that being a martyr in the face of evil, dying for your faith, because you refuse to give it up even when you're persecuted to the point of death. Isn't that like one of the greatest virtues that a Christian can have? And I'm not asking you to martyr yourself. I'm just giving that as an example, right? Like, if being willing to stick to your faith to the point of being killed for it is viewed as such a virtue, then what is it by comparison to just stick to a position rather than flip-flopping on it all the time? And we'll get to one of the things that you flip-flopped on in just a moment in the comments section here, because it kind of reveals itself, much like you end up revealing all of your true colors eventually, like any liar does after a sufficient period of time, right? Pardon me. But anyways, we see here in the comments section, we have gay-tard preteens saying, I can't jive with these people who claim to be Christian, but then surround themselves with antichrists. Don't let them get to you, bro. They're only hating because you're winning. Haters gonna hate us because they ain't us. Wow. Excellent comment. And once again, what a self-defeating fucking argument, right? Because isn't he talking to the guy that's constantly trying to court atheists around his channel all the damn time? Isn't he the guy that's always like, come on, argue with me, have a debate? Like, if that's really the case, if surrounding yourself with quote-unquote antichrists is such a horrible thing, then why is the buddy that you're saying that to a person that attempts to do exactly that thing? Oh, I'm sure that they're going to use the excuse, let me just get out of their lack of an argument, because they're never going to make it to my face. They're just going to justify it to their own minds like the cowards they are, right? But the argument that I'm sure they would make in response to that is, oh, well, I'm trying to get the word out to them, spread the good news. And it's like, okay, let's look back at any argument that you've ever had with these people and see where the fucking preaching of the good word is. Dude, you're endlessly just trying to look for ownage. You're trying to look for ponage. You're trying to look for fucking clips. You're trying to quote mine people. That's what you're about, dude. Come on. Don't try to act like you're some fucking missionary out here to spread the good news. The only thing that you're out here to spread is your vomit around some fucking sidewalk after you fucking had one or two too many. That's the only thing that you've been spreading around recently. Because Lord knows that you're not spreading the clap around. You ain't getting laid. But anyways, let's see what Proverbs Guys Ministries had to say in response. He says, if you were worth responding to, I would, but I have no plans on helping you come up with better content. God bless right back at you. And Lupin said, glad you've gotten rid of your toxic traits, though that sounds like something a toxic person would say. What? So let me get this straight. The only way that you can claim that you've gotten rid of toxic traits is if you are a toxic person yourself. Okay. Well, by that logic, all the fucking writing that the apostles make in the New Testament about how horrible they used to be and how they've been saved and how they've been redeemed and all that stuff, I guess all of that is just a sign that they themselves were toxic, right? Because by your logic here, the only people that can say that they've gotten rid of toxic traits are toxic people. Like, just nothing but self-defeating arguments out of these numbskulls. They can't help it. That's all that they've got. And he replies with, oh wait, I didn't finish this. My content is suffering so much. I mean, by your standards, I'm sure your content is suffering, because aren't you the dude that was like trying to put together a studio to like try and do this professionally? You're trying to do this full time, dude. Don't lie. You're the dude that makes like 4 or 5 streams on your fucking channel every day on certain days. You're pushing real hard to try and be famous, dude. And you're getting poo-poo for views. You're getting shit. And I'm not trying to claim like I'm out here getting shitloads of views, but look at my channel, dude. I'm tiny. Barely anybody's out here watching me, but you know what? 11 people are. I'll tell you what, dude. I've never seen on one occasion in my entire life 11 people come to your channel and watch it at the same time. If somebody can pull up a screenshot, if you've got some like analytics that prove that wrong. Oh wait, you do the portrait streaming now as well. You stream to shorts, which by the way, credit where credit's due, it's actually a half decent idea. Doing it through short. I've seen a whole bunch of content creators doing that. But honestly, the way that I was convinced that anybody could get their channels revived through doing the portrait streaming rather than the conventional streaming like I'm doing right now is the fact that even dumbfuck Lupin that barely gets any views on anything whatsoever is occasionally actually able to get views in the triple digits when he does the portrait streaming. So if even he's able to occasionally get triple digit views, I mean, anybody can, right? So I don't know. He might have inspired me to go and maybe try out some portrait streaming myself. And once again, that's what it's all about when it comes to people like this, in my opinion. You got to take the bad and you've got to find the little pieces that you can get that are good and utilize that, right? Much in the way that I'm making this actually tolerable, which is why there's 10 people watching right now, right? As opposed to the nobody that watches your channel. As opposed to that, in the same way, I need to remember that every once in a while, this guy, much like all of the people in history that are irrelevant, they still have something within them that can be used to positive effect. That's humanism right there, ladies and gentlemen. just make an episode out of this exchange. It'll be the most views you've gotten in months because everybody knows you and has cut you off from their communities. And that's true. What Steven says here is absolutely true. Every single place this guy attempts to try and inhabit inevitably ends up getting rid of him. The only people that he's been able to cultivate for a long period of time are a cop that cost the taxpayers over $100,000 due to a fucking persecuting somebody that had no business being persecuted, and a weird pseudo-fascist that also married a fucking Filipina wife because they were the only person that was able to tolerate him for a long enough period of time because they'd get something out of it in exchange in terms of a citizenship. You know, like, if those are the only two people that you can have around, even Bruce is critical of you, dude. Bruce! Probably one of the most toxic people in this entire community. Even he can't stand your ass, dude. That's hilarious. But let's keep going. As a Christian, that is to be expected. Thought you would know that by now. Well, you know what, Lupin? Steven is a Christian, and yet he's actually able to come around these communities and not immediately be lambasted by people and not immediately basically get the equivalent of fucking rotten fruit thrown at them as soon as they come around. And why is that? It's almost like they had bad experiences in the past, but were actually humble enough to be able to admit their wrongdoings and try to come to some kind of terms about that. It's almost like that's all you have to do yourself in order to not immediately get lambasted in every single chat room that you go to for people that know you for any significant period of time. I mean, that's why you want new people around, isn't it? It's because everybody that actually knows you, right? Anybody that's known you for any length of time knows that you're somebody that can't be trusted. They know that you're somebody that is going to try to backstab them and is going to talk a whole bunch of shit about them as soon as you say something that's even slightly critical. Or sorry, they say something that's even slightly critical of you, pardon me. But anyways, I'm not interested in talking to the same people for years. Oh, really? You're not interested in talking to the same people for years? Then why are you tagging people like Mark Reed and me and Missing Maud and all these other people in your posts if you're really just not interested? That's the thing, Lupin, is you somehow manage to cover both bases at the same time. You manage to be somebody that's desperate for new people because all the people that actually know you hate you and despise your guts. But you also still want to poke them and antagonize them because maybe, just maybe, if I incorporate those people into my content, I might just get a little smidgen of attention. It's so clear. Like, dude, I don't know who you're trying to convince. That's just the thing. Is nobody believes your side of the story here, dude. The only person that does is the guy that claims that he cares about Charlie Kirk only to try and start a GoFundMe campaign. Or no, it wasn't GoFundMe. What the hell was it? Some petition or whatever about me and Missing Maud. That was hilarious. Oh my god. And it was hilarious because it just showed that he doesn't actually fucking care, right? The only people that can hang around this guy are people that don't have any principles themselves. Anyways, Stephen replies with, single best day of Proverbs Guys Ministries lifespan was the day I entered your studio and shut down your show and fired you backstage with Achilles as my witness. Talk about ending with a bang, Steven. You really put the hammer down at the very end there, dude. Jesus. Yeah. You know what the funny thing is, though? Is that there was a narrative for a period of time, and I gotta be honest, you guys were kind of pushing it as well, Steven, for a while. But both you guys and Lupin were saying for a while that, oh, Lupin wasn't fired from Proverbs Guys Ministries. That's not what happened. It was something completely different. And, you know, from your perspective, Steven, I get it because, you know, you wanted to save a little bit of face. It was a bit of an embarrassing thing that happened. Not to say that it's all right to lie about that. I still called you out on it at the time, right? But it's more understandable for you than it is for this guy. Because this is the dude that lied about that as well. He was like, yeah, I didn't get fired from that group of people. That's not what happened. And it's like, if they're really such like false teachers, if they're really people that aren't Christians or they're not trustworthy or they're people that hang around Antichrist and therefore can't be taken seriously, like Gaytard tried to say earlier in the comments section, right? Like if that's the case, then why try to defend the fact that you were a host on that show and didn't get fired? It just doesn't make any sense. But your narratives really never are consistent within themselves, are they? Whatever helps you sleep at night, brother. Sad you would think it would be something related to your wife and or kids, but I must have got to your head. Dude, you tagged him! You must have got to his head. You fucking idiot. You tagged him. Like, what are you talking about? It's so funny that you try to claim that you're getting to his head because first and foremost, he said Proverbs Guys Ministries, but your dumbass probably read that and interpreted that as the best day of his entire life. Like, no, dumbass. Steven doesn't really talk about his kids on his show. And Krista really only talks about her and Steven every once in a blue moon. It's not really something that they get into a heck of a lot from what I understand. Not because there's like things going on between them, but just because it's not something they like to discuss a whole bunch on YouTube. But it's like, how is that a valid form of criticism to say that, oh, you got into their heads, when literally all he's saying is that the best day in this entire ministry was when they threw you out? And I can't help but agree. Dude, you are a malignant cancer on every single community that you actually inhabit, right? And I think that's what pisses you off, is the fact that you can't be a cancer in Proverbs Guys Ministries anymore. You can't be a cancer over here. You try. You know, you try to insinuate yourself. Oh, yeah, that reminds me. Yesterday, I did a stream, and this guy popped into my side chat and was like, this doesn't make any sense. You guys are a bunch of losers. And then, like, did a stream that was, like, birthday stream or something like that. So he's like literally on his birthday. What is he doing with his time? He comes over here and hate watches me. You want to talk about a sad existence? Jesus Christ. If you want to catch me somewhere on my birthday, it's not going to be hate watching some guy on YouTube because he's saying things that I don't like. You know what the funny thing is, dude? You know what the easiest way to avoid this getting into your head is to just not watch it, right? Smokey Saint, he did a whole little fucking segment of me on his show for a couple of shows on his channel before it got shamefully deleted, right? And people were trying to get my attention on it and be like, are you going to respond to that? And I never even watched them. Because who fucking cares, right? In much the same way, I'm not saying that you're as bad as Smokey's saying, right? I'm not going to go that far because that's just ridiculous. But you are similar in one aspect, and that's that with the vast majority of the communities out there, you're not a reliable source, right? There's barely anybody out there that takes you seriously in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. So who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? Outside of being able to use it for content fodder, who cares about what you have to say, bro? It's irrelevant. Lupin is a master of 1D chess. You couldn't have put it better, BS, Lewis. You couldn't have put it better. I mean, always the master of summarization. As Shakespeare said, brevity is the soul of wit. And BS summarized it far better than I could have ever hoped to. But yeah, that was my coverage of the Lupin Tupin nonsense. I thought that was kind of funny. I wanted to play another little clip here just because I thought it'd be entertaining. Because it kind of gets into some conservatives' mentality about the Super Bowl, especially the Super Bowl over a prolonged period of time. Let's check it out.
Performing at the Super Bowl? Shit, Rolling Stones. Oh, where are they from? Shit, Liverpool. The UK. Oh, hell yeah, that's awesome. And who performing at the Super Bowl? Shit, Coldplay. Oh, where they from? Shit, London. Oh, hell yeah, that's awesome. Hey, who performing at the Super Bowl? Shit, Rihanna. Oh, hell yeah, where's she from? Barbados. But hell yeah, that's awesome. Who performing at the Super Bowl? Shit, Bad Bunny. Oh, where he from? Puerto Rico. It's in America, by the way.
It's so true. It's such a great example of the fact that they didn't give a fuck about any of the other times that foreign fucking performers were performing at the Super Bowl, but now all of a sudden when there's a chance to try and politicize it, they all fall into line like the drones that they are, right? Everybody else is trying to pearl clutch and say that him speaking Spanish at the Super Bowl is the worst thing ever. But when it's them, no! All right, next segment, I'm going to get into a little bit of Olympic coverage here. Because the Winter Olympics have been going on, and I'm sure you've been seeing that somewhere on social media, you know? You've been seeing people talking about the Winter Olympics. And I'm sure maybe you've even seen a little bit on the next segment I'm about to show right now. By the way, for the 11 people watching right now, make sure to like the stream if you're enjoying. Much appreciated. Help boost it in the algorithm. But the next thing I'm going to show is J.D. Vance at the Olympics getting his ass booed because it's hilarious. His reaction is the best thing ever. Let's check it out. Look at his facial expression while it's happening, too. He could at least save a little bit of face here, right? And be like, he can like smile and wave to the crowd so that he could be like, yeah, you guys hate me, but at least I'm just here to enjoy the event. But he just looks like this is the first time he's ever received actual major public criticism in his life. He's baffled right now. Look at that. What? People around the world don't love me? I'm alienated? I've been one of the direct people that have taken part in the alienation of my country from everybody else on the international stage, and everybody hates me now? What? I can't believe it. He looks like a... Oh my god, BS. Hold on. I'm rewatching that from that as the perspective. He looks like a fly is buzzing around him. Everybody in the audience right now, just imagine that. He looks like a fly is buzzing around him. You're so fucking right. He's literally like, that's exactly how I am when I'm about to go to sleep. And it's like a swelteringly hot July night, you know? I'm trying to go to sleep, and there's just that one fucking mosquito that keeps buzzing around and won't go away. That is exactly the facial expression I would have in a situation like that. BS killing it in the side chat, as always. We've also got another commentary here from Trusty Apeco, who said, or Trusty Apeco, Trusty Apeco. Look at me. Really good reading comprehension over here. Trusty Apeco over here. Trusty Apeco says, looks like he's taking a poo. Very true, Trusty Apeco. Very true indeed. He afraid to be Pence when that fly landed on her. That's true. You remember Alex Jones back in the day? He's like, there's footage of Obama. There was a fly that was going near him, but it didn't even land on him. You know why? Because it smelled like sulfur. That's why. Obama even talked about it in one of his speeches. He was like, there's people out there that say that I'm a demon because I smell like sulfur. Can you believe it? And it's like, why are you even talking about it, Obama? Why are you giving it any credibility whatsoever? I mean, it's not nearly as bad as all the other dumb shit Obama's done, but definitely not a great example of him being having his finger on the pulse, so to speak. Lol. Trusty Apeco and BS Lewis, right, Wildheart? They're both killing it over here in the side chat. All right, the next thing that I wanted to cover was something that you're not really going to see in a lot of American media, unfortunately. And that is the massive and violent protests that are taking place directly outside of the Olympic Village. This just happened recently. I had to go look. This is the Times of India that's covering this shit. That ought to tell you everything that it needs to, that I've got to look for the Times of India rather than an Italian outlet or an American outlet. Like, why do we have to go and look somewhere halfway around the world to go and find that information, right? But anyways, let's play that a little bit. And like when I saw this shit, I was like, damn, like this shit's pretty fucking intense. Like, why the hell isn't this being covered right now? But you know what? It's being covered. It's not being covered for the same reason why every single time countries like Israel compete in Eurovision, they now have to add artificial applause on top of it, right? Because these events and the countries that represent them looks like a party. Yeah. The people getting beaten with batons earlier. Hell yeah, that's the best party I've ever seen. That's what I'm thinking when I'm looking at that footage for sure. But yeah, this is insane. The fact that this isn't being covered in any major media source right now is just kind of baffling until you realize that what they're protesting is America's participation and the massive environmental degradation that events like this create. And they're protesting things like J.D. Vance's presence and ostensibly the ICE overreach in places like America. Like, those things are being protested right now, and that's what's causing this violent reaction from the Italian police right now, right? And that's why it's not being covered, exactly. Meh, I've been in worse mosh pits. You know what, BS? I actually don't doubt that, to be totally honest with you. I could see you at like a Slayer concert somewhere, just thrashing around.
The streets of Italy's Milan turned into nothing less than a battleground after thousands of protesters clashed with police.
And you know what? People are going to act like, oh, it's just a couple of fireworks. It's no big deal. Who cares? No, those things are fucking hot, dude. Those things will burn you real bad. I've seen and known people that like are burn victims from firework accidents. And that shit's fucked up, dude. The scarring that shit leaves behind. This dude's arm. Have you ever seen the like images of somebody being struck by lightning? It's not as bad as that, but it's like similar in terms of like the pattern of scarring and stuff it'll leave on you. That shit'll fuck you up.
On February 7th, against the Winter Olympics that kick-started a day before.
Aiden, how many of your friends are burn victims? I only have one friend who's a burn victim from fireworks. I hate to say it. I know. And surprise, surprise, it was because he wasn't really being the smartest with the fireworks. Unfortunately, he was doing the classic combination of being blackout drunk and lighting copious amounts of fireworks. Uh-oh. We have got some sort of strange writing here in the side chat. I am not sure what this is. It is some kind of alien language that is trying to be communicated to us right now. I have not seen this kind of language outside of ancient aliens, so I must conclude that it is the product of extraterrestrial life. It's all Greek to me. True, Achilles. One police officer died a couple of years ago when one of those flares landed on his stomach and kept burning. It's messed up, dude. It's true. Isn't fireworks what happened to Jamie? Is it? I literally have no idea. I heard about what happened to him at the very end of my coverage of freaking Terry's show. Lol, alien language. That's right. That's right. Achilles the alien. You know what you are, Achilles? You're an illegal alien. Get back! Get back!
The protest was initially peaceful, but as demonstrators passed near the Olympic Village, which was secured by a large police cordon, some demonstrators threw firecrackers and smoke bombs toward the athletes' housing. Moments later, violence and clashes ensued. Footage shows protesters launching fireworks, smoke bombs, and flares at police. In response, officers deployed water cannons and charged at protesters with batons to disperse the crowd near the Olympic venue. At least 6 people were detained during the clashes, according to media reports.
Yeah, that shit's intense, bro. And I just, like, everybody out there in the audience, just, I don't know, question why they're covering this up, right? Let's look. Why the protest?
Protesters took to the streets over the environmental impact of the Milan-Cortina Winter Olympics, Milan's worsening housing crisis, and the deployment of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, personnel. People carried cardboard cutouts representing the trees cut down to build the new bobsled run in Cortina.
Oh my God, environmental concerns. No. No, people destroying the planet. No, we should just all stay home and never talk about that, right? Let's go to the voting booth and say, you know what, mega corporations that only have vested interests towards destroying the planet as fast as possible for the sake of shareholder value, you guys knock that off. ExxonMobil. BP. You knock that off. I don't like the cut of your jib. No, we shouldn't take to the streets and try to actually get change in a somewhat rapid fashion when our planet's going downhill environmentally at a faster and faster pace. Fuck that. Who cares about that, right? Who cares about the fact that there's literally more carbon in the atmosphere right now than there has been for 3 million years, you know? Who cares about the fact that it's basically inevitable at this point that we're going to see a rise in temperature of at least 1 to 1.5 degrees Celsius over the next 100 years, which is going to lead to massive environmental die-offs? Who cares that the ocean is getting more and more acidified, that more and more coral reefs are getting bleached, and that more and more certain environmental niches are going extinct as these things happen all around us? It doesn't matter. Just vote. These Italians only hit a little harder than Greeks. Oh, damn. We got some competition, some international competition going on over here in the side chat. Hey, 14 people out there. If you're enjoying the stream so far, please hit the like button. It'd be much appreciated. It's why their empire was bigger. Damn, son. I mean, Alexander's empire was pretty decent, all right? You didn't see no Roman presence in India, all right? So you gotta give him credit where it's due, all right? Just because it only lasted for about 15 minutes before it split apart into a bunch of warring states under the Diadochi period, all right? Who cares?
The march was organized by an activist organization called the Unsustainable Olympics Committee, which mobilized a wide coalition of grassroots sports groups, civic and environmental movements, students, housing activists, combative unions, pro-Palestine networks, and trans-feminist collectives.
A march bringing together grassroots unions, social movements, and citizen associations to co-protest against the Olympics that were built only for the benefit of the rich, to promote real estate speculation, to promote the enrichment of entrepreneurs through the lucrative slices of public contracts.
So based. Fucking based. I mean, what part of what he just said there wasn't fucking true? Please, somebody in the side chat, help me out, because I'm looking for the part of what he just said there that isn't true.
Today we're demonstrating against the Olympics, which is another massive project that seems they want to make it out to be an opportunity for all citizens, for students, when in reality it's nothing but financial speculation, construction speculation, and overdevelopment.
Well, the reasons are quite
Wildheart over here with some astute political commentary. I got an Italian prostitute the other night. She was very nice, she was. All right, Wildheart. Good on you, buddy. Good on you. I hope that she was nice. Maybe call her back. Did you tip her? I hope you tipped her, Wildheart. Because you know what? You don't get those every day. Speaking from no experience whatsoever. You don't get those every day, Wildheart. You don't mess with the Italian police. That is true, Achilles. Even though I don't give a shit about the Olympics, a lot of people do. Well, you see, that's just the thing, is that the reason why the international media doesn't want to cover this is because it's way easier to cover a whole bunch of people playing a bunch of sports and pretending like nothing is happening. And don't get me wrong, like, I could get that. Lol, I tipped her. Oh, I tipped her all right. You better believe it, mate. You better believe I tipped her real good. God, you Wildheart. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, with the Olympics, I understand escapism, right? I mean, people are always going to need some form of escapism in life. Aiden Jones. That's right. They're all just a bunch of. It's just a giant psyop. I'm sorry. I got my words confused there because I'm just so damn angry right now. Ugh. They're putting chemicals in the bobsleds and turning the Olympians gay. Do you understand that? Yeah, I get it though. I don't mind the Olympics. Truth be told, the last time I was super into the Olympics was, I think it was the 2011 Olympic face-off between Canada and America, the Winter Olympics for their hockey championship. Me and my dad were glued to that TV watching that shit because it was a photo finish. They fucking finished the game within like seconds of it ending, and they won it for Canada, which was pretty great. The Olympics should just be the best athletes in the world. The tie to countries creates xenophobia. I could see that, Big Bad Mama. I could definitely see that. I think that the ties to countries can definitely promote jingoism. But I also kind of understand the argument for it, at least from the perspective of the fact that that's what's traditionally been done, and it's really hard to kind of break those tendencies. You know what I want to see? I think that there should be 2 Olympics, honestly. And I would definitely watch the latter half of the 2, truth be told. We need this form of the Olympics, where people can compete to the best of their natural ability. And then I want to see the Super Olympics, and I've already made this, I think I've made this take known like a little while ago, but I don't think I've ever made it known on this show. I want an Olympics where you can be as doped up as you want, where you can take all the drugs that you want, and you can have freaking cybernetic implants. And you could just literally push the human form as far as it possibly could. I want the transhumanist Olympics is what I'm trying to say. I want there to be an Olympics that just showcases the absolute limit of where people can be pushed to. And obviously, those athletes are going to have to go through a shitload of training, and they're going to have a shitload of waivers signed, and they're going to have the understanding that that's going to inherently be way riskier than the other Olympics. But fuck it. Let's see where the edge of the human ability is in sports. That would be fascinating. Put the limp in Olympics. I mean, I'm telling you, dude, we have the Special Olympics, right? We have Olympics on the other end of the spectrum. So let's go and take it to the other extreme. That's all I'm trying to say. If we have a Special Olympics where people are allowed to compete on one end of the spectrum, then let's allow people to just fucking dope themselves up and get as good at the sport as they possibly fucking can. Why not? Oh, it's dangerous for the athletes. All of these sports are dangerous for the fucking athletes. You don't think people have always died throughout the Olympics as time has gone on? Of course they have. Combine battle bots with the Olympics and see the humans battle. Fuck yes, Big Bad Mama. See, you're getting somewhere with this. You're getting somewhere. That's what I'm talking about. You see, this is one of the main reasons why, even though the Roman Empire was actually like horrible to live in, every once in a while, if you lived in it, you'd get to get drunk at 9 o'clock in the morning and go down to the Colosseum and watch a dude fight a fucking lion. You know, tell me on some level in the human condition that just doesn't sound cool, right? I know. There's the part of you, Big Bad Mama, that like grew up in this time with this age's sensibilities. That's like, oh, I don't care about that. I think that's horrible and barbaric. But you really mean to tell me there's not a slight part of your brain that's like, oh shit, who's gonna win in that fight though? He's got a net and a trident, and there's a fucking lion, and he's the best gladiator that we've got. And he's literally won like 5 fights beforehand, but he's never fought a lion. Let's see who wins. I don't think that sounds cool. It makes me sad. I'm not saying, once again, let me clarify, all right? Let me clarify, right? With our modern sensibilities and with my modern understanding, I get that that's barbaric, right? I get that that's cruel to the animal. I get that that's like kind of messed up morally from that angle. But I'm sorry, Pixie. Maybe it just comes down to a difference of opinion. But there's a slight part of my brain that's like, okay, but who's going to win though? You make me sound like I'm the poster child for woe. That's abuse. I don't want them to hurt the lion, BBM. Yeah. Release the lion into its natural habitat, and then everybody can go and pet it and love it, and then we can all live in happiness and have sing kumbaya and link together in a big chain. Hey, Pixie, I get it. Different sensibilities, right? I'm not saying that I like to hurt things either. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there's this brain, right? This mind that exists is not this like modern thing that just came about, right? This brain is the product of hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. And there's different layers to that, right? And some of those layers are more modernized, right? Some of them are more socially adept. Some of them are more cognizant and aware of things like that. That all exists. But you know, the deeper you dig down into that layer cake, the less it becomes, offices and infrastructure and filet mignon, and becomes a lot more hunter-gatherer and cave dwelling and woolly mammoth shanks for dinner, you know? Like, that's still there. All right. And for some of us more enlightened folk like you've gotten past that, right? You've availed yourself more of it. But unfortunately, those tendencies are still there. Life would be sad without pain and death, Aiden Jones. Becomes a lot more filet mignon. I mean, all right. But that's what I'm saying, though. It's not the filet mignon that we're talking about, right? It's a little bit different. I wouldn't say that I wouldn't cook it. I just don't want to see it or cause it. But you see, that's the thing. That's part of those modern sensibilities I'm talking about, right? We still want to reap the benefits of that. Me included. I'm not trying to exclude myself from that. We still reap the benefits of modern society, but we've just kind of like divorced ourselves from it, you know? The massive industrialized slaughter of animals to be able to facilitate the meat supply that we have is one example. The cheap goods that we have due to the global south being massively exploited by the Western world and basically being extracted for as many resources as possible. That's another one that exists that we all just kind of look the other way towards and don't really care about, or at least pretend not to care about. You know, modern society's kind of built up on a lot of those tacit understandings that, yeah, maybe it's immoral, the things that I reap the benefits of, but at least I'm not paying attention to it. And I'm not trying to act like that's like more worse on you than it is for me. It's just as fucked up that I partake in that as you do, but it doesn't mean that I can't point out that that's the paradigm that exists, right? I don't know. Anyways, that was this. I wanted to cover this next little bit here that is... And the video of this is going to come out hopefully in the next couple of days, but the best coverage I have of it at the moment is LAPD commission meeting erupts when assistant chief lies about the brutality at anti-ICE student protest. And we see here, let me just find the comment from the person that got these, but unfortunately there's no video because there's no video allowed in these sorts of things outside of the official videography. So hopefully that videography is going to be released in the next coming days, but this is the best thing that we've got at the moment. And we've got all these photos depicting what had happened. And we've got below this comment and this one a little bit of context behind it. And it says, today I attended the LAPD commission meeting where Assistant Chief Harrelson informed the board that there was no First Amendment press or use of force incidents at the 2-4 student walkout. He said that they were just monitored the protest and, quote, did not move to a crowd control posture. That's a bald-faced lie. And the room erupted. I personally witnessed and photographed LAPD charging into crowds of students swinging their batons. They bashed a protester in the face, splitting his lip. I watched them whack a journalist in the hand, trying to knock the phone out of it. They chased kids through the streets, threw one up against a fence, and arrested him. After numerous people spoke about what they had witnessed on Wednesday during public comment, they reduced each speaker's time from 3 minutes to 1. When someone refused to yield after 1 minute, they physically removed him from the room. A California Post reporter got up in people's faces, and the commission left for a closed session instead. They're actively covering up what they did to those kids last week. And I wanted to provide a little bit of wider context to what had happened there. I'm going to play a bit of a video. Oh, Wildheart's heading out. Alrighty. Wildheart, thank you for being here. Much appreciated. I really appreciate you stopping by. I hope you have a good rest, my friend. But I'm going to play a little bit of video showcasing what this is talking about for wider context. And there's 2 sources I wanted to pull. This is from the main protest itself. And then there's another video from Instagram from a bystander capturing one of the protesters being pursued by the police. which, by the way, definitely didn't happen because they never even assumed a crowd control stance. So I don't get it. Right? Let's watch. So I wanted to show that, and then I also wanted to show the video showcasing one of the immediate follow-ups to what it was happening here. This is one of the attendees of this protest getting ran after by the LAPD.
Oh my God! The cop just busted on his face. I don't know if you guys seen that.
So yeah, never assumed any kind of crowd control stance. Never went after anybody whatsoever, right, guys? Just like I said on this episode of Chips, right? It does look like something straight out of Chips, doesn't it? But obvious bald-faced lie by the assistant chief at that LAPD hearing. Absolutely untrue, disproven by literal video evidence. But much like what the comments say there, you know, when people are asking, why is it that they're lying in spite of the fact that there's literal video evidence contradicting that being the case? And the truth is that they're not going to ever be held accountable for the fact that they lied. People are just eventually going to forget about the fact that they lied about this and move on, because unfortunately lies like this happen so frequently that it's just kind of been normalized in society at this point. It's really unfortunate, but that is exactly the case. And we have one video here afterwards. This is, oh wait, nope, that's actually something unrelated. So let me move on to the next story that I have. This is a really recent one, and this comes out of my country, unfortunately. But if I'm going to be covering the news, I'm going to try to cover news just outside of America. And I did that earlier with Milan, and I'm going to do that now with Canada. So, unfortunately, just yesterday, we experienced one of, if not the worst, mass shootings in our recent history. And this is an article from the New York Times about that. 9 killed in shooting at school and home in Canada. The shooting occurred at Tumbler Ridge, a remote community in British Columbia. The police said that the suspect died of a self-inflicted injury. Let's
to enjoy across this country. There are about 25 people who have been triaged by health authorities with various physical injuries, some profoundly serious, and some more minor injuries. But I can say for myself, and I'm sure for many British Columbians, many Canadians, it makes us think about our kids' safety when they're going to school. We take it for granted. You go to school, you come home safe. And events like this give us pause about that safety that many Canadians have the privilege to enjoy across this country.
So that's Premier David Eby of British Columbia giving his statement directly following it. So video from the scene showed students exiting the school as a helicopter landed nearby. That's this right here. And just to see this and knowing that this is coming out of my country is so fucking tragic. Because I get that in America, unfortunately, this is something that happens on a fairly regular basis. But when this happens here, this really does fucking shake things up. Really badly. Because we're just frankly not used to this kind of violence in this country. I will know every victim, says the mayor of close-knit Tumbler Ridge. Now keep in mind, by the way, Tumbler Ridge is a tiny community in British Columbia. And it's not some big city or big community whatsoever. It's extremely remote. I barely had ever even heard of it prior to this happening. It's like a little tiny town that was built for, I think it was logging or mining or something like that. And it just kind of never evolved beyond having a couple thousand people. And yeah, this is where this ended up occurring, unfortunately. The mayor of Tumbler Ridge, a remote community in British Columbia where a mass shooting on Tuesday left 10 people, including the suspected shooter, dead, vowed that residents of the close-knit town would support each other following one of the deadliest such attacks in Canadian history. I will know every victim, Mayor Daryl Krakowaka told the CBC, Canada's public broadcaster, after sheltering in the town hall. We're a small community, he told the broadcaster. I don't call them residents. I call them family. And you know what? When it comes to little tiny communities like this, if this was like the mayor of a big city or something like that, then I would kind of take this with a grain of salt. Oh, he's just saying that for the sake of saying that. But in a little community like this, I grew up in a tiny little town for part of my life, right? A lot smaller than the one that I initially came from. I came from a town of about 15,000 people. And then for part of my life, I moved to a village of about 400 or 500 people, which isn't quite as isn't quite as big as this community of about 2,000. But that sentiment of people knowing each other and there being this kind of close-knit community is absolutely true. With tiny little communities like this, that's just the bog standard case. And unfortunately, I can only imagine that the rippling effects in this community per capita in terms of how much this will affect this community will be far worse. Not to say that this should happen anywhere, but this is going to be such a disproportionately large tragedy because it occurred in such a small town. This is going to be something that is going to be a scar on its reputation for decades. Unfortunately, that's one of the results of places like this, though, right? If you ever hear of Columbine, you're not going to think about anything except the shooting that occurred there, right? If you hear about even other things that aren't even school shootings, right? There are entire areas who are just known because of major tragic events that happened there. And unfortunately, this is one of them now. 7 people were found dead in Tumbler Ridge Secondary School, including a person believed to be the shooter, the police said, and another died while being transported to the hospital. 2 other people were found dead in a local residence that the police believe is connected to the shooting. Chris Norbury, a town councillor, said that he worried that he had lost a relative as news of the shooting in the town of 2400 broke. Like many in our community, I felt the fear, the kind that sits in your heart and soul that doesn't let go. The fear that I lost a loved one, he said on social media. It is something none of us should ever have to experience. Mr. Norbury paid tribute to the teachers, students, and emergency medical workers who had to live through such a terrifying experience. Jarvis Noronha was teaching his 12th grade auto mechanic shop class how to change oil Tuesday at Tumbler Ridge Secondary School. Students with good attendance are sometimes allowed to work on their own vehicles, and one student went to the parking lot to fetch his car. He instead came back saying he heard gunshots outside. Mr. Noronha said. About 2 minutes later, the school's principal, Stacy Gruntman, came to the door of the shop, shouting lockdown. The fatal shootings in Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia. Oh, and this is a makeshift memorial for the victims. This was for the most deadly mass shooting that occurred in 2020. The fatal shootings in Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia on Tuesday came as Canada's federal government faces hurdles in a national gun buyback program that has proved politically unpopular and a logistical quagmire. The country's deadliest mass shooting in Nova Scotia precipitated the creation of the program after 23 people, including the attacker, died in April of 2020. When asked about the limited capacity at Tumbler Ridge's local medical center where the 25 injured people were assessed, David Eby, the Premier of British Columbia, acknowledged that it was a small center. Eby said that Alberta, the neighboring province, offered to provide medical services, including air ambulance, but did not say whether they were used. So Tumbler Ridge is a small remote town surrounded by wilderness. Tumbler Ridge, the remote British Columbia town where a shooter killed 9 people on Tuesday at a school and residence before dying of a self-inflicted injury, has a population of about 2,400 people and lies near the border with Alberta. The town sits at the foothills of the Rocky Mountains in the province's northeast and is surrounded by expansive mountain ranges and a geological park recognized by UNESCO, the United Nations Cultural Agency. It is so remote that cell phone service cuts out about 30 seconds into a car ride out of town, said Danielle Rocher, the owner of a local outdoor tour company. So yeah, an extremely remote community. Just out of nowhere for something like this to happen. It's extremely tragic. Canada is always about 20 to 30 years behind American trends. Jesus, BS. Man. You and Achilles, they caught the wrong guy. Aiden did it. Jesus. Talk about the good taste committee over here. Solution, they should have built a bigger village. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that because it's such a small village, it's going to disproportionately affect them much larger than a larger population center, because everybody probably knew each other, at least on some level over there, or at least the vast majority of the population would have, right? So that's that story. Unfortunate though it is. I've got some more things here, but I'm also kind of checking the time a little bit here, both just on the clock in general and on the show. And I might review one or two more pieces of content before I open the panel up to everybody. I don't want it to be a super brief open panel, so I think I'll do one more piece of coverage. I'll do this one because it's more recent. If I can pull it up, that is, because of the 15,000 tabs that I have open on my browser at the moment. Aiden, don't forget to check Google later. All right, Pixie. Sounds good. Thank you for letting me know. Dad shot daughter after arguing about Donald Trump from 1 day ago. A British woman who was shot dead by her father while visiting his home in Texas had argued with him about U.S. President Donald Trump earlier that day. An inquest is heard. Lucy Harrison from Warrington in Cheshire was shot in the chest on 10th of January in Prosper near Dallas. Police in the town investigated the 23-year-old's death as possible manslaughter, but no criminal case was brought against Chris Harrison after a grand jury in Collin County declined to indict him. Isn't that fucked up? Isn't that fucked up? This guy, they didn't even indict him for this. Think about that, right? He didn't even go to trial. They just didn't even bother to indict his ass with this shit. They're just like, whatever. Who cares? We'll just drop it here. Basically got away with this, right? And just tell me, right? In a state like Texas, where the majority of people, there are more registered Democrats than there are Republicans in Texas, right? Last I checked, anyways. And even though that's the case, they have a Republican governor. They have way more Republican districts than they do Democratic districts because they gerrymander the fuck out of the state in order to artificially enhance their fucking representation because they know that they're becoming less and less popular. They know that their message is becoming more and more untenable to more people, even in a place like Texas, which has traditionally been a stronghold state for those exact ideas. Even there, this is becoming more and more untenable. Are there any statements of fact on any of the police reports or even an affidavit, the state or nature of conduct of the lady who got shot? Well, you know what, Dustin? I've just gotten to the beginning of reading this, but last I checked, I thought you told me that you didn't even want to come around here anymore, dude. I thought you were sick and tired of me always talking about this shit. So which one is it going to be? Are you going to continue to sit here and be a hanger-on that wants to critique and criticize everything, which is perfectly welcome? I'm not saying you can't do it. If you want to critique and criticize every single little thing that I say on here, be free to do so. But don't do that and then tell me on the other hand that you don't even want to be here because you're sick and tired of hearing about this, right? You can't have your cake and eat it too, Dustin. All I'm hearing is Aiden is against parents disciplining their children in favor of a nanny state. That's so true. So true, B.S. Lewis. This is definitely a reasonable reaction to what was occurring. But anyways, as I was trying to say, in a state where that's the case, tell me where the fact that they didn't even indict him for this is any different than the Jim Crow era, where juries would refuse to convict or charge people for the lynching of black people because that just didn't politically align with what they thought was right. Oh, he didn't do anything wrong, so who cares, right? Like, how's that functionally any different? Oh, no, I'm in the wrong article. I was like, what the hell? Why isn't it talking about what I was just talking about? It's because my fucking dumb ass was in the wrong article. Brilliant. Why not, Aiden? You think a man could be a woman by making up his mind to be one? Yeah, okay. The whataboutism for the umpteenth time, right? I think that a man is free to be whatever the fuck he wants to be within the confines of his own business. And the fact that you think that they can't do that within the confines of their own business just goes to show that you're anti-freedom, Dustin. That's what it comes down to. You're the dude that wiped his ass with the Constitution the other day on the air. All right? All these people, they always like to act like they're super pro-freedom, but yet you don't want people to have the freedom to be able to make those choices about their own bodies within the context of their own lives. How's that pro-freedom exactly? Please articulate the argument for how being anti-trans just as a whole is pro-freedom. All offenses are justified in the act of self-defense. Yeah. Because, of course, you're going to jump to defending this guy, right? Of course you're going to jump to defending this guy. What a fucking shock. Let me continue reading this. An inquest into Lucy Harrison's death opened earlier at Cheshire Coroner's Court, where her boyfriend, Sam Littler, described the big argument about Trump, who was preparing to be inaugurated for his second term of office. Littler, who traveled to the U.S. with Lucy Harrison for the holiday, said that she would often become upset with her father when he spoke about owning a gun. The inquest also heard how Chris Harrison, who moved... Oopsie daisy. Let me get that shut down. I had that set for 2. What the hell? It's supposed to go off at 2. The inquest also heard about how Chris Harrison, who moved to the United States when his daughter was a child, had previously been to rehab for alcohol addiction. Chris Harrison, who did not attend the inquest, admitted in a statement sent to the court that he had relapsed on the day of the shooting and had drunk about 500 milliliters of white wine. Oh my goodness. 500 milliliters of white wine? Oh my God, you must have been fucking shit-faced, dude. Woo! Give me a break. It's the classic defense. Oh, I shot my daughter in cold blood, but I don't recall because I was too drunk to be able to remember it. Give me a fucking break. Why wouldn't I jump to his defense, Aiden? He's entitled to one and you're attacking him. Oh, I didn't realize I was the grand jury that didn't even bother to indict him, by the way, Dustin. Didn't even bother to fucking indict him. But now all of a sudden, on one hand, this is the funny thing, right? Dustin's the kind of person that wants to say on one hand that my show is irrelevant, right? That I'm never going to get anywhere with any of this, that what I say is irrelevant, that it doesn't matter. And yet on the other hand, he wants to sit here and act like me trying to say that this guy is a fucking cold-blooded killer is tantamount to the fucking grand jury sentencing him, even though they didn't even bother to fucking indict him in the first place. Fuck off with that bullshit, Dustin. Honestly. Chris Harrison, who did not... Oh, I already read that part. Littler said that on the morning of the 10th of January, his partner had asked her father during the Trump row, "How would you feel if I was the girl in that situation and I'd been sexually assaulted?" Chris Harrison had replied that he had 2 other daughters who lived with him, so it would not upset him that much. Wow. What a good fucking guy. What a great guy. So let's get this straight. He shoots his daughter on the same day that he essentially tells her that she's fucking expendable. Got it. Okay. Well, I've got 2 other daughters, so it doesn't fucking matter if you got sexually assaulted, let alone fucking shot. Oh, wait, I'm being held account? I don't even recall what happened. I don't even recall. Fucking bullshit. Oh, yeah. This is so funny. The endless requirements for context that this guy has for people. You know what the funny thing is? Dustin's the kind of person that wants to ask for endless context for a man that got shot in the chest, right? Or sorry, who shot his daughter in the chest. He wants endless context. He wants endless justification for why I'm saying the things I am for that. But he walks into the emergency room and sees a bunch of brown people and immediately comes to the conclusion that those people all must be illegal immigrants. Because it's okay when he's able to jump to conclusions about things. He's able to be judge, jury, and executioner in his own mind when it comes to those things. But then when I talk about this, all of a sudden he needs endless context. At least be consistent with that shit, dude. Come on. Yeah, irrelevant shit. If it's so irrelevant, what are you doing here talking about it, Dustin? You came to the show. I didn't even invite you today, brother. I didn't invite you because I figured that you didn't want to be around, so I didn't shoot you an invite. And here you still are. You're welcome to be here. I'm not telling you to leave. All I'm saying is that if you're going to call it irrelevant, then stick to your guns and be consistent about it. Either it's irrelevant and you don't want to be around here to see it, or it is relevant and you want to talk about it, which is clearly what you're doing right now in the side chat. Littler said Lucy became quite upset and ran upstairs. Yeah, I wonder why she became quite upset. Her father basically told her that she was expendable. I wonder why she ran upstairs upset. He told the court that later that day, about half an hour before they were due to leave to go to the airport, Lucy had been in the kitchen when her father took her by the hand and led her into his ground floor bedroom. Littler said he heard a loud bang about 15 seconds later, and then Chris Harrison screamed for his wife, Heather. Littler said, I remember running into the room, and Lucy was lying on the floor near the entrance to the bathroom, and Chris was just screaming, just sort of nonsense. The statement from Chris Harrison said that he and his daughter had been watching a news item on gun crime when he had told her he had a gun and asked her if she wanted to see it. Seems like she really wanted to see it when he had to take her by the hand to lead her into the fucking bedroom. Not compelling at all. Definitely not compelling her to come with him so he can just fucking shoot her in cold blood. No, not at all. That's why 15 seconds after she disappeared, she got murdered, right? 15 seconds later. Let's just give this guy the best fucking possible case scenario, Dustin. Let's give him the best possible of the outcome of what happened here, right? This is a guy that, according to his own testimony, had a loaded gun and pointed it at his daughter and shot her. Out of sheer negligence in the best case scenario. Sheer abject negligence. You want to talk about being charged? Give me one reason why this guy shouldn't at the very least be charged with gross negligence and manslaughter. One reason. But no. He's not even going to get indicted. He just gets to fucking walk scot-free off of this bullshit. Good for him. Good for him. Harrison said that he had bought the gun a couple of years ago because he wanted a sense of security for his family. Wow, he really provided a sense of security when he gunned his daughter down, didn't he? If you said the dad shot her because they had a fight about Biden, Dustin would be talking about how deranged he is. Of course he would be. Of course he would be. If this was some fucking story about somebody fucking overtly worshiping Biden or Obama and going to the point where they murdered their own fucking flesh and blood, the fruit of their fucking loins, then of course this would be all about how this guy is deranged and how he deserves to be locked up and how the key should be thrown away. But no. Unfortunately, you know what, Dustin? I challenge you right now. Go find me a story of a dad killing anybody. You know what? Just a family member killing another family member over an argument related to Obama. Maybe it's out there. I'm not even acting like it doesn't exist because I don't know one way or the other whether or not it exists. But you go and find that for me, Dustin. Because this shit, last I checked, wasn't something that was happening under those people. I wonder why it's happening right now under Trump. It's almost like there's a giant fucking cult of personality surrounding this guy, and there are people that are so fucking deranged in their following and worship of him that they're willing to gun down their own family members in cold blood. But who cares, right? Who cares? Which is at 8, and was the guy too drunk to remember, or is he giving testimony now? I'm telling you that his testimony is that he was too drunk to remember. Which is the classic fucking cop-out excuse for shit exactly like this. I don't recall. Well, they can't prove that he doesn't remember something, can they, Dustin? They can't prove that his memory was fuzzy or not fuzzy. So that's about the best possible defense this guy could fucking mount. You know what a real man would do, Dustin? You want to talk about that? You want to talk about masculinity? You want to talk about what defines a man and what doesn't define a man? If I fucking shot my daughter, even if it was because of gross negligence, you know what I'd fucking do? I'd turn myself in and I'd ask to be fucking punished for that. Because that's bullshit. If I was directly responsible for my daughter's death, even under the best case scenario, and I just fucking pointed a gun at her that I knew was loaded, because it was his gun, according to the fucking story. Oh, wait, was his memory fuzzy there too? Did he forget that he had it loaded? Of fucking course he forgot that he had it loaded. I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest if that was his defense, was that he forgot that it was loaded. Because he's a fucking soulless piece of shit that murdered his family member in cold blood. That's the fucking gist of it, all right? And you know why I'm getting so pissed off right now? Some people, you know what? Some people will probably be wondering, you covered a mass shooting in your country and you didn't get this pissed off when you were covering that. Why the hell not? You know why not? I wouldn't be this pissed right now if Dustin wasn't sitting in the side chat trying to fucking cover for this bullshit. That's pissing me the fuck off right now. Is the fact that you somehow think that this is somehow a redeemable set of fucking circumstances. You want to give this guy his day in court? Well, he didn't even have to have his fucking day in court, did he? Because they didn't even fucking indict him. Thanks for covering the saga Lupin tried to get going. Well, I figured somebody may as well try to get some decent content out of it. Dude, Lupin endlessly tries to reach out to people like us, Steven. Isn't it so desperate? Such a desperate cry for attention from somebody that tries to act like he doesn't care. Trying to fucking... It's literally the equivalent of the kid that pokes you with a stick until you get pissed off at him. And then when you get pissed off at him, he looks the other way and pretends like nothing happened. That's about the intellectual level that we're dealing with somebody like that. Hashtag blame Dustin. It's true. Every single major tragedy, every single negative world event that's ever happened since the dawn of time itself is actually really Dustin's fault when you think about it. When you really think about it critically, and I'm joking, Dustin, in case that wasn't already very obvious. That's a joke. We could examine the whole country from this one case. People are shooting people in the street over Trump, personality disorder, or whatever it is you're trying to say. Dustin, this person murdered their family member over a political disagreement. All right? Yeah, that's fucked up. And yeah, I'm going to cover it. But oh, wait, you're one of those people that always tries to act like these are just obscure niche cases. But when I ask you, how many cases does it have to be? How many more instances of this do I have to cover on my show for you to finally acknowledge that it's becoming a systemic issue? You never actually answer that fucking question. Because if you established a specific standard for those things, you'd actually have to continue to live by it. And I know that you're not the kind of person that would renege on something like that. So that's the precise reason why you don't give an answer to that, or at least the most reasonable one I could come up with as far as an explanation is concerned. You don't want to give me a standard of how many instances things like this have to happen for you to recognize that it's systemic. Because if I have a fucking example of this to pull up every single show, which is what I've had for basically every single show that I've covered this shit for, how is that not evidence that this shit is way more common than you fucking think that it is? I mean, you're just poisoning jury pools. That's all you're doing. I'm not even in your country, dude. It's impossible for me to poison a jury pool if I'm not even fucking there. And by the way, whatever a juror hears in their own private life is up to the juror's discretion on whether or not they want to hear it, right? Or are you making the same kind of argument that Jack Thompson made back in the 1990s? Oh, we need to ban violent video games because it's not the discretion of the parent to whether or not they have their child exposed to the violent video game. It's to the discretion of everyone else around them as to whether or not that kid gets exposed to that violent video game. If a juror gets exposed to my rhetoric and takes it to heart, Dustin, that's not my responsibility. And the fact that you're trying to put that on me is asinine and absurd. It's their choice whether or not they want to listen to me. And it's their choice whether or not what I say actually affects them or not. So this is just yet another example of the exact thing that I was talking about earlier. On one hand, you want to act like I have no power. And on the other hand, you want to act like I have sufficient power to poison juries or jurors' minds. It's just ridiculous, dude. You're just playing both sides against each other right now. I'm sorry I have to be the one to call it out, but it's clear that that's what you're doing here. All right? So I'm going to open the panel. I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to come in. Because I said I was going to cover that as my final segment, and I'm almost 2 hours in right now. YouTube rejected this comment. This is fairly common when sharing a link. Oh, good. Good. Good, good, good. YouTube is doing that fun thing again where it won't let me post the link into the StreamYard. Okay, let me try copy this. What if I paste it in the main YouTube chat? Nope. Not letting me do it there either. All right, hold on one second here, guys. I'm going to try one more thing that I haven't tried before, and that is posting it in Facebook and then using that, going onto my phone, checking what I posted on Facebook Messenger, and nope, don't join. Copy it. Copy the link. Go to the YouTube. Go to your YouTube channel. If it'll load, that is. There we go. And paste it into the chat. Now, can I pin that? No, I can't. Seems I can't pin it because it's not actually there. Well, shit. Because nobody in YouTube and nobody in America watches your channel, right? The entire point that I just made to you, Dustin, was that if they have their mind changed by what I'm saying, that's the onus for that is on them. I'm not some fucking witch trying to bewitch people and force their ideas to change or bend into a certain direction, dude. That's ridiculous, okay? You know what? I think the next best solution, people out there in the side chat, if anybody wants to join the panel, let me know. And I think the best thing that I can honestly do here is paste the link to you individually, because it seems like I literally can't put it out there in the main chat right now. YouTube is being really stupid about this. So if you want the link, then find some way of contacting me and asking me for the link external to this, because it seems I can't put it here. I tried doing it from a different one from my phone, and it didn't work even there. Even when I tried pasting it from my phone, it still rejected it. So for whatever reason, YouTube thinks that I'm not a moderator on this channel or something. I don't know. BS. Hold on. Yeah, I'll send it to you, and you can try and put it in chat. Good idea, BS. Thank you. There you go, BS. Try throwing it in there. Oh no, the alien language is back. Send it to your email, Achilles. Gotcha. I'll send it to you right now. And yeah, like I said, right now, that's like literally the best jerry-rigged solution I can think of is just let me know if you want to get in and I'll send it to you individually, I guess. Has to do with your rights in the StreamYard studio, probably. Probably. I'll ask Mod about it at some point. Oh! But if it had to do with my rights in the StreamYard, then why wouldn't I be able to put it up in the main YouTube chat? Like, surely, thank you, by the way, BS, much appreciated. Like, surely I'd be able to put it up from YouTube end of things. I don't know. Hey, Pixie, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Good, but you're being so overly generous.
Oh, to who?
Yes.
Or what?
To Dustin.
How
I want
so?
you to really think about what he's saying out there. You led this story by, this guy was not even indicted. So he's not only accusing you of poisoning a non-existent jury pool, he's basically like, the judge and the prosecution watch Aiden, and if this guy gets indicted, it's Aiden's fault. It's Aiden's fault.
I mean,
It's
I'll
so
let
weird.
Justin come in and defend himself as far as stuff like that is concerned. But yeah, I mean, he does kind of get a little overcritical sometimes with those things. Hello, Dustin. Welcome to the show.
This is why I was trying to get in. I wasn't trying to argue with anybody about anything. I wanted to show my work. I do this. I do this with people. Okay? If it's something you don't want done, that's fine. But the only thing that I was upset about was the constant hounding about Trump. It hasn't gotten anything done, Aiden, and I don't think it ever will. And I'm not saying that your show isn't going to go anywhere. That's not what I was saying, Aiden. I don't know how you came to that conclusion from what our conversation was. That's not what I said. What I said was I wasn't going to waste my time talking about things that don't matter.
Then what are you doing here?
I'm showing my work. I'm trying to hang out with friends. It doesn't necessarily always have to be adversarial.
No, I agree. I like hanging out with you, but that's just the thing, right? Like, because I want to come on here and make a whole bunch of statements about things that I want to talk about, doesn't mean that I'm trying to be adversarial with you, Dustin. I'm not doing this to piss you off on an individual level. I'm not out here trying to fucking make you upset. So I don't really.
You're saying that my country's going in the direction of Germany, Nazi Germany, whatever. I can't even. I don't even want to think about it. It pisses me off so much. This is not a bad country. We do more charity.
Not wanting to think about something is not exactly an endorsement of how solid that idea is, then, isn't it? If the idea of your country going in that direction is so abhorrent that you don't even want to think about it, that's not exactly an endorsement of the idea that you've thought this through very well.
You're the only one out of the two of us with the opinion that this country's going in that direction. And by implication, that means that you're calling me a Nazi.
No, I'm not.
Because I'm okay with the way things are. You're not.
Yeah, and I've already I've already made the clarification to you in private, Dustin, that there were loads of people in Nazi Germany who just kind of went about their every day and just kind of looked the other way. And they weren't hardline Nazis. They weren't part of the party. Like I told you earlier, dude, if every single person that thought that way was a hardline Nazi, then they would have fought to the last man and there wouldn't be any men left in the country at the end of the war. That's not what happened.
So in this scenario, I'm either an idiot or a coward. One or the other. You're saying you saying that I lack the capacity or the ability to act against a Nazi, either because I'm an idiot or because I'm a coward. Because what do you do with Nazis, Aiden?
What do you do with them, Dustin?
What do you do with Nazis, Aiden? I know what I would do with a Nazi. I know exactly what I would do with a Nazi. But what would you do, Aiden?
Well, it depends, doesn't it? Because if it's just
I don't know.
If it's just universal violence, if you're just going to act violently towards somebody because they express a certain political ideology, then how are you any better than them at that point? Because
I got into a fight over freedom of speech last week. Fisticuffs. I knocked the dude out. Stop pretending like violence doesn't happen on a daily basis, regardless of what the subject matter is.
Who the fuck said that? I'm not saying that violence doesn't happen on a daily basis. What I'm saying to you is that if you go against somebody with violence just because they express a certain form of ideas, then you're essentially lending credence to the part of their ideology that says that it's okay for them to do the exact same thing against the communists and against the
which is exactly my implication when I'm saying that you're going to call me a Nazi, because I don't see a problem with officers defending themselves from an automobile or shooting somebody that has a gun in their waistband that shouldn't be in a freaking police zone. Okay? No, this is not what I called here for. I just wanted to show my work, say hi, see how everybody was doing. I don't agree with your position. That doesn't mean I think your show isn't going to go anywhere. I wanted that clarified because I don't believe that. And I just as a faulty statement. You have a good day, Aiden. When you step off the gas about Trump, I think that this will level itself out. But I like I said, Aiden, you're barking up a tree that I don't think you're going to find any squirrels in.
Yeah, that's definitely not you doing the equivalent of saying that my show isn't going to go anywhere when I talk about this. I mean, like, come on, dude. Like the entire idea that you came here to show your work, if that's really what it was about, then why did you only talk about your work for like 30 seconds and talk about these ideas with me for the rest of that? If really the only thing you were here to do was show your work, why didn't you just go, no, I'm not here to talk about that, Aiden. I just wanted to show you my work. And you know what I would have done in exchange? I would have said, you know what, Dustin, let's check out your work and let's put this aside and let's check it out and let's talk about that. But no, in your mind, I really just have to talk about this for the sake of talking about it. not because I see injustice occurring around me right now and want to point out those injustices. That's just the thing. You want to say that there's no evidence that this country is going in that direction, but every single time I pull a video or pull a clip or pull a news article that shows that this country is going in that direction, you just want to try and deny, equivocate, whataboutism. That's all that you always end up throwing at me in exchange, Dustin. You're never actually critical of the institutions in your country. And that's pretty fucking un-American when you think about it.
He's only half critical. Let's be real. If you said this lunatic father got in a fight with his daughter over Biden and suggested that because she didn't like Biden, she was expendable, and he had 2 other children at home, so it didn't matter if she got SA'd, and he happened to shoot her the same day, everybody would be sitting here being like, what a fucking lunatic. And how are we in this space where like some political argument leads to a father killing his kid? Like, how are we even in this space, right? But you said Trump, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, exactly. You're harping on Trump. You're harping on Trump. It's all about Trump, and I can't listen to this Trump. And I'm like, whoa, settle down. Settle down. Guy's not even indicted. He's like, you're going to poison the jury. He's not even indicted. There's no jury. The judge isn't watching this. Prosecution's not watching this. Everybody calm down.
Hey.
Hey, Big Bad Mama.
Aiden, can you hear me?
Yeah, I just got back. Sorry, I was just going to go.
Oh, that's okay. Pixie's right there. I want to say 2 things. Dustin, when Aiden compares it to Nazi Germany, you understand that he's talking about Nazi Germany from the perspective of the early 1930s, or even like the late 1920s, I guess. But, you know, he's not talking about 1943. So there's a nuance there that you're not getting quite. The other thing is Trump is president right now in the present. So you better get used to people talking about it because it's in the zeitgeist. And so I don't know what you're thinking. It's not like we're talking about, you know, Dwight Eisenhower or somebody. I mean, he's president right now.
I mean, Dustin, he's literally gone as far back as trying to ask me to defend Abraham Lincoln suspending habeas corpus. You know, like,
right.
That's how far back he's gone.
Well, you know, I think that we have a tendency to overinflate a lot of things that we agree with later on, right? Like the Emancipation Proclamation is a good example of that. They teach the Emancipation Proclamation as if it was this like great liberation document, right? Because they like what it said. But the truth is, the South already had their own president, and they didn't care what Lincoln said. And it allowed 2 border states to keep their slaves because he didn't want to offend them into also seceding. And so at the end of the day, yeah, great words, but all it really did was get the abolitionists off his back with their anti-war movement, because it gave them a reason to help refuge slaves without legal repercussions. And so it wasn't until what is it, the 19th Amendment? I always get that one wrong. It wasn't until an amendment was added to the Constitution that they were actually freed, right? But if you ask kids, they're like, oh, the Emancipation Proclamation, and I'm like, okay, and
yeah, but it was a beautiful piece of propaganda, because for the first time Lincoln was saying, yes, the war is about slavery. And so it put it in the minds of the soldiers that this is something that we're fighting for. And I think it gave them a renewed focus in the war. So
maybe
I think from that perspective, it was highly successful, even though, as you said, it didn't free anything because the South had their own rules and slaves weren't immediately leaving the plantations.
Well, I think what it really did was gain support for the war in the North, because at this point, the North was tired of fighting. They were tired of fighting, and they were like, screw it, we don't care, let them go. We don't want them, let them go. And one of the biggest groups for just letting the South secede were the abolitionists. And this gave them a way to help refuge slaves without any legal repercussions, and kind of gained a lot of support for the continuation of the war.
Yeah.
It was strategic, and it was well written, and because we like what it says, we romanticize it and we make it a lot bigger than what it was, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you about the abolitionists. I just think it also, soldiers were leaving the Union, they were deserting.
That's
And
true.
I think it did give them some sort of a focus. I mean, you saw a major shift in, I would say, the views of the slaves from the North's perspective throughout the war. I mean, you had pro-slavery contingencies, is that the word, in the North. But by the end of the war, they had largely turned against slavery, the entire North.
Yeah.
Even the average guy on the street, I would maintain.
Which is really fascinating to me, because anti-slavery sentiment had gone back a long time, even to figures that you wouldn't think would say it. Like, there were slave owners who argued against slavery, which I found interesting.
Big Bad Mama, would you like to respond to this comment?
Yeah, Stephen, you're an Alabama guy, so you're speaking about this from an Alabama perspective. I can see that, but you should also. What about the blood of the slaves that is on the hands of the people in your state, the slave owners, and the enslavement of human beings? What do you say about that?
I'm from Florida, Steven says.
Whatever.
I mean, ultimately, if you're
tomato, Stephen.
If you're saying Lincoln invaded his own country as though there wasn't a very overt aggression on the southern end of things, then I mean, like, come on, are you really going to try to push this war of northern aggression stuff?
If Lincoln invaded his own country, did not the South invade their own country?
Good
not
point.
Like they stayed below the Dixie line.
We had next to no slaves. I think no slaves is better than next to no slaves, right, Stephen? Would you agree with me there? Not much better. Yeah, agreed.
But we do it over and over. We say we fought the Spanish-American War because they blew up Battleship Maine. That's a lie.
That is true.
The
Gulf of Tonkin incident with Vietnam was a
9/11.
Yeah, they did not blow up Battleship Maine, by the way.
No, they didn't. It was almost certainly an accident.
Not just an accident. It was almost certainly a faulty design in the boiler room.
Right.
9/11
was used for the same pretext.
Yeah, I mean, we do it all the time. Or even
drug
back
boats
to, like,
with Venezuela.
Drug boats, right. In the Mexican-American War, it was the land between the Nueces and the Rio Grande. And
even back
we went there and sparked a conflict. It was our conflict that we started. Sorry, Pixie.
No, I mean, even back to the Alamo, right? I mean, we love making Santa Anna the bad guy and remember the Alamo and blah, but part of the reason Texas was fighting was because Santa Anna was fighting on Mexico's side and Mexico had abolished slavery. We just don't like to talk about that part because remember the Alamo.
Yeah, there was literally, I mean, like the Mexican government declared through the worst of American slavery that any slave that entered Mexico would immediately be free. So I don't know if you want to look at the right side of history as far as things like that are concerned. Don't get me wrong. Was Mexico a perfect paradise at that time? No, obviously not. But at least they didn't have slavery, you know?
Go all the way back to England, right? You go all the way back to the Revolutionary War. From our side, yes, taxation without representation, boo, right? But from their side, they're fighting two different wars, right? I think who are they fighting? They're fighting Spain and France. I think they're fighting
Spain. Debt.
Yeah, they're fighting Spain and France. They are shipping goods.
War.
They're shipping supplies to the colonies, and they are bankrupt. So from their side, they're like, yeah, we're asking you to pay taxes, but we're asking you to pay less than the English citizens over here in the mainland. And we're like, no, well, then we get dignitaries. And they're like, yeah, you know what? I see your point, but we can't really afford to ship dignitaries back and forth, and we're already shipping you supplies, right? Like, you got to help out here.
No.
Well,
The majority of the reality of why America wanted to become free, let's be honest, isn't because of any kind of high ideal. It's because people like George Washington were the landed elite in America at the time, and they realized, why the fuck are we spending all of this money paying all these taxes to these people when we could run this shit for ourselves? It was self-interest.
Right.
Exactly. And, you know, I'm going to argue selfishly for the better, because I like, as fucked up as our system, as much as we have fucked up our system, right? I do like not having a monarchy. Let's try to keep it that way.
I don't know.
You know?
The Constitution.
But I like not currently having one.
The Constitution that was developed has been a model for the Constitution in other countries. So just from that perspective, I think there are a lot of positives to say about
like Israel.
But even UK, right?
Because they don't follow it at all.
Let's look at the UK now. Their monarchy is largely figurehead, right? But they still have the House of the Lords, and that is just a concept I'm completely against. So
yeah, the Senate is
little things like that make me appreciate. Little things like that make me appreciate the breaking away. You know, that's kind of good for me.
The Senate and the House of Lords are totally different. They're 100% different. It's not like the Senate is, like with the House of Representatives, the same as the House of Lords and the House of Commons. No, they're very different.
Well, I would abolish the Senate.
Yeah.
I'd abolish the House of Lords first. If you put them both before me and you say you can only get rid of one, I'd be like, get rid of the House of Lords.
We already have the House of Representatives, so why do we have this other agency that kowtows to states with low populations?
So they're actually not
rural states. Wait a minute, Pixie.
They're not.
So wait a minute, Pixie.
Okay.
So that a state like Wyoming, which is very sparsely populated, has the same power as the state of New York, with 2 senators each. That is ridiculous, along with the Electoral College. That is favoring a person that grows up or votes in a rural community as opposed to a city in a populated state. Go ahead.
So they're not actually elected to represent you in the same manner, first of all, which is why they're not elected in the same way. I'm not saying that I agree with the way in which we've divided it up. I don't. I'm not saying that I agree with all the ins and outs of the Electoral College and that process. I don't. I get the temporary necessity of it upon establishment, but I agree it's way outdated. But the reason you have 2 representatives, we can argue all day long, I know, about how it should be implemented. I'm not getting into that. The reason there are 2 separate representatives is simply this right here. Your House of Representatives, representative is not, their ins and outs revolve around what happens in your state on a state level. Very rarely is what they're dealing with something considered federal. The Senate, and they do have crossover because of the implications of both, right? But the Senate is specifically supposed to represent your state in federal matters.
Well, then they should have the amount of senators for the population.
Right. Like I said, we can get into how it's established and the numbers and all of that. I agree. I'm just saying the purpose of having 2 different representatives was because what they focus on is supposed to be very different.
Right. I would accept that if the amount of senators per state were based on the population.
I mean, unfortunately, the way the Electoral College works, it's like something like 37% of the population is all that's needed to win the vote. Because it might even be less than that. Because if all you need to focus on is winning specific states that have the most electoral votes and don't care about any of the other states that won't give you those electoral votes. I mean, it's the exact reason that you see all of these presidential candidates fly between the exact same sets of cities every single election.
Yeah.
Which,
That's
by
where
the
that
way,
meme came from.
isn't that Isn't that the exact thing that is supposed to be avoided by the Electoral College? Isn't the whole point of it that we're supposed to not let the big cities dominate American politics? Which, by the way, when you actually look at the percentage of the population that live in cities compared to the percentage of population that live in the farmlands and live in rural communities, it's even less defensible in the time it was created than it was now. But even if you convinced every single city in the United States, even if you just flew between New York and LA and San Francisco and Chicago and all these big cities, and those were the only people you got on your side, you still couldn't win the election if it was by majority vote. It would be impossible.
That is true today because of the way we've decided, because we allowed states to decide election matters. It's not actually consistent among the states, right? So most states, unfortunately, are an all or nothing. You have 2 states that don't run that way, though, right? And those 2 states never changed to an all or nothing. So in those 2 states, if 40% of the population votes one way and 60% votes the other way, they divide their electoral points 40 to 60. Not many states do that, which is why, but hold on, but I would also argue that when it came about, it was less about that and more about who could be educated on both platforms and how it affected the day-to-day lives of the people in those regions. Given the North was very, very textile and the South was very, very agricultural. And not, given the time it took for information to go back and forth, not a lot of people were educated on both sides. That was the aspect I was speaking of. But yes, in the way that things have developed, I agree. And that is why there is that meme that went around that said, in order to teach my children about democracy, I let them vote on what we had for dinner. They voted for pizza, but we had tacos because we don't live in a swing state.
That's a good one.
That is pretty good. So I had a couple other pieces of content that I was perhaps going to play, depending on how the panel ended up shaping up, and it seems like things are chill enough that I might be able to get away with playing 1 or 2 more.
Aiden, I think your mic is a little low, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Pixie can.
No, he started fading. Like it sounded like he was walking away from it.
Right, almost roboting a little bit. Go ahead.
Oh, I muted myself. What the hell? What happened with that? I was just gonna say that I'll probably play a video or 2 here if that's cool with you guys.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Things are pretty chill around here right now. So I wanted to show this one because one of the biggest arguments that's used to try and frame the way the policing exists in America is, well, you know, cops have to be this way because that's how they need to be able to enforce the law. But there's loads of examples, especially when cops are confronted by other cops or other law enforcement officers when they're caught doing something wrong, that they'll overtly expect to be treated better than the average person caught in those exact same sets of circumstances. And here's a video showcasing exactly that. There we go.
Oh, look, a law enforcement officer interacting with another law enforcement officer. I'm sure this interaction will be nothing but calm, professional, and respectful.
Get over here. Highway Patrol. I don't care who you are. Freaking hands off. You touch me again, I'm going to lock you up, my friend.
Wow, I am shocked. That escalated quickly.
The Metro officer followed a black SUV for several miles after clocking it at 85 miles per hour in a 55 mile per hour zone.
Oh, the state trooper was going way over the speed limit. That is why he got pulled over by the police officer. And just because the trooper is also law enforcement, he understands he does not get special privileges, right?
You need to yield to the police. I don't care who you think you are. I'm the police.
Never mind. He absolutely does think he gets special privileges.
Any vehicle traveling above a posted speed limit should have emergency lights and siren operating under Tennessee state law. Otherwise, you are to adhere to the same traffic laws anyone else does.
The stop was lawful? We know. What is the confusion? We're not confused. Any of us would have been stopped if we were speeding. Why is the trooper confused? Oh, look, a law.
So yeah, there's one example that I wanted to give. And there's also the other one that came out before I started doing this show. But do you remember seeing the case of that ICE agent? He ended up getting caught off duty, drinking and driving with his family.
I did see that,
yeah. I'm gonna play that as well and check that out.
That first, the first one, the highway patrol guy obviously has the jurisdiction there. I mean,
I mean,
I've seen a highway patrol pull over a cop.
That guy's using the case like these politicians do is, I'm so-and-so,
right. You know who I am?
You know who I am, right?
Yeah.
Celebrities even do it sometimes, but.
I've seen highway patrol pull over a cop.
Right.
Also, that police chief got pulled over, and his first thing was, "I'm a chief of police," and then he kept asking the guy to turn his body cam off. Turn your body cam off. Turn your body cam off.
Jeez.
And it's just such a good. Yeah, he was, and it's a great example of the fact that unfortunately there is in fact a systemic idea within these organizations that if I get to become a cop, then I get let off more lightly than other people do if I get caught doing the exact same thing. And it's that like buddy idea that, oh, well, we're all a big brotherhood and we all need to stick together no matter what, that facilitates loads of horrible, corrupt behavior within the police force. Because as soon as one individual police officer finds that there's a systemic issue going on within a police department, a huge section of that police department is going to cajole and intimidate that person into not going forward and saying anything. Because, hey, aren't you one of us? You're not one of them, right? You're not going to go and cause us any problems, right?
I agree, but I'm going to add a little nuance here. Because I think the body cams also show, A, that there are plenty of cops who are like, no, I'm not turning off my body cam and I don't care who you are.
Right.
And B, I think it reinforces the idea that I've always had, that the individuals themselves are so much less of a problem than the unions that are willing to cover it up on the other side.
Hey, Bond Lifts. I've never seen you around before. How's it going?
Bond! Hey, Bond!
Is that the Bond? I thought Bond had a different account, but maybe he got a new one called Bond Lifts. Not sure. But anyways, welcome to the chat. Hope you're doing well today. Yeah, I'm going to show this other one, though, and it's basically attempting to make the exact same point as far as showcasing that these guys really do just think that they're better and do think they can get away with this kind of shit. Is this the one? No, that's not the one. It would help if I didn't have 18 freaking Facebook tabs open. There we go. That's the one.
Who do you work for? DHS. Do you have your ID with you? No, I don't. So what I want to do, I want to talk away from the kids. So I'm going to ask you to step out of the car and we're going to walk back to the back of your car, okay?
Are you fucking serious right now?
Yes, sir, I am.
Guys, seriously, are we really doing this right now?
Here we have an off-duty ICE agent who was pulled over in South Florida. And this guy is a prototypical ICE agent.
Zach, how much have you had to drink today?
About 4.
4 what?
4 drinks.
I think that you might be impaired. You look, your eyes are bloodshot. They're kind of glassy.
Are they really?
Yes, sir, they are.
Show me.
What did he say? Deport his ass right now. Deport him.
I'm going through a divorce. I'm taking my kids, man. My boys are everything.
Okay. Where's their mom at?
I don't fucking know.
You don't take my kids away. My boys are everything. How did you respond when people said that to you? When you ripped parents away from their kids? Did you show courtesy? Did you show kindness? Did you show empathy? Did you show any kind of emotions when you rip families apart? And of course you're going through divorce because ICE agents are the shittiest humans who live amongst us. They all have problems. They all have anger issues. They're all violent.
All right, hold on. Let's go back. Let's go back to the video now. We're doing our own commentary here, buddy. We don't need you to try and monopolize the time. Thank you very much.
He did make a good point there about
He did. No,
ICE tearing away kids.
He did.
Are you Haitian? That's nothing to do with my wrist button. My question was, are you Haitian?
Did you just really racially profile that other officer? Did you really pretend?
Yeah, the fact that he tried to use the race card on him and go, "Are you Haitian?" Like,
I forgot
that's
that
some
part.
sort of justification. Oh yeah, no, he 100%
Horrible.
tries to pull like the Uno reverse card on this guy and try to go, "Oh, you might not even be here legally." So yeah, just somebody that never has faced any serious repercussions in his entire life. And what does he do? Rather than take responsibility, he lashes out.
This thing, man. Go through a fucking divorce because Lane, come on, man.
And you know what? Before anybody tries to defend this guy by going, oh, he's going through a hard time, why this commentary that he's a shithead? You know why this commentary that he's a shithead? Because he's drinking with his fucking kids in the back of the car and driving around. It's not already enough of a public danger that he's going around drunk driving. He's got to include his kids in his fucking escapade as well.
Even without the ICE stuff, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, fuck this guy. I don't fucking care that he's fucking all tore up because he's going through a divorce. As far as I'm concerned, his fucking ass deserves it.
This is gonna fuck me, dude. Please don't do this to me.
Come on, put your feet in. Stand up, come on, stand up. Put your feet in. No, man. Lane,
no.
You really fucked me, man.
I didn't fuck you, man. I'm not the one that drank today and drove.
It is just the classic prototypical, it's not my fault, it's your fault that you're holding me responsible.
I like when the cops come back and tell him how it really is, like that guy did. No, you're the one that chose to drink and drive.
Yeah.
I like when they give him a little lecture like that instead of just kind of taking it. But the body cams are really good nowadays because they prevent, not saying that officer wouldn't have done the right thing anyway, but without the body cams, there's more of a chance of being let off if you're a fellow law enforcement officer, I would think.
That's true. No, I agree with that. Next video, I have these ICE agents. They're super well trained. They're so well trained that they almost violated the sovereignty of another country the other day when they almost illegally entered the Ecuadorian embassy. So let's check that out.
This is the classroom. Relax. Okay, relax. I did not enter. If you touch me, I will grab you. If you touch me, I will grab you.
Isn't that so prototypical? The ICE agent is saying to the guy that's in the embassy after he opens the door when the guy was about to enter, if you touch me, I will grab you. Just a classic example of they will instigate a situation. They will escalate a situation. And then when somebody else that isn't trained to handle that situation on the same level responds, then all of a sudden they use that as justification to escalate it even further. Think about what had happened there. If that guy did in fact grab him and drag him out of that building, it would have been an international incident that would have occurred. Because these people were trying to get in here and violate the sovereignty of another country. And some people are going to make the argument because the guy says to the ambassador, he says, oh, I'm not inside. I'm not inside. Well, if you weren't trying to come in, then why is this the way that you react when this guy doesn't let you in?
Okay. You can let him. Okay, but don't touch him. Yeah, okay. You can let him. You can let him. All right, here you go. You can let him. This is the consulate. This is the foreign government. You can let him. Are your cousins there? Right? Yeah. Right here. Right? Yeah.
But yeah, why do they immediately walk away after being turned away if they weren't intending on going into that building? It's
What are they looking for? Why should why can't they say exactly what their particular goal is in that being there at that place?
Because they're shady fucking people. That's why.
Right, because they have no goal. They want to go in there and bust people just who might be in the middle of some sort of a amnesty situation. Yeah. They're just looking for easy busts, basically, as far as I can tell. Otherwise, why don't they say, we think you're harboring a murderer here?
Right. And if they really did have evidence for that, then they could go to a judge and they could go and get a warrant for that. Right. And clearly that's not what they're interested in, because they're treating this place exactly like they're treating so many of these residences around the country, where they're going into these people's homes off of the basis of an administrative warrant. And they won't tell you it's an administrative warrant. There's so many videos of them going, "We have a warrant to search your premises," never explaining that it's not a judicial warrant that was signed by a judge. And we've literally gotten to the point now where there are people out there that are content creators that have to inform the American public, hey, if the document that's being presented to your door doesn't have words like court on the top of it, and if it's not signed by a judge, then they don't actually have the authority to go and enter into your home. Think about the paradigm that that represents. Like, it's awful.
Yeah.
There's no defending it whatsoever.
Well, they're
So-
giving themselves permission to go into your house. I mean, that's what it ultimately is.
Right,
As
and
opposed to
hoping-
going to an actual third-party judge who can objectively look at the situation.
And hoping that you aren't informed enough as an American citizen to
Yeah.
understand your Fourth Amendment right and understand that this isn't proper and this isn't allowed. Because, oh, we said the word warrant, so 90% of the population that doesn't take the time to look into the difference between those two things. If somebody, like if I was in America 10 years ago and somebody came to my door and they said that they had a warrant and it was a judicial one, I would just, or sorry, an administrative one, and I didn't ask about it because I wasn't informed, I would just assume that that person had a judicial warrant and that they had the authority to enter.
Right.
And that's what they're relying on. It's inherent dishonesty.
And intimidation through being covered. You know, they're in camo.
In masks.
And they're armed masks. And there's an intimidation factor there that as well.
Oh, undeniably. So there's another thing that I wanted to address. This will probably be the last thing that I'll go over here before I'll shut the show down, before I got to head off to work. So we have 6 men named in U.S. Congress. Why is so much redacted in the Epstein files? So U.S. Congressman reveals names of 6 men whose names were redacted in the Epstein files, including a U.S. billionaire and well-connected Dubai CEO. A United States congressman has revealed the names of 6 men in the Jeffrey Epstein files whose identities were blacked out when the records were released to the public, including American billionaire Leslie Wexner, who appears to have been labeled a co-conspirator by the FBI in 2019. Speaking to the House of Representatives on Tuesday, Democratic Representative Ro Khanna said that his name that he was naming the men after spending 2 hours reviewing the unredacted documents with Republican Congressman Thomas Massie during a viewing facilitated by the U.S. Department of Justice. Oh, Claude would like to join from backstage. Claude, welcome to the show.
Hello. I thought somebody better come and close in prayer.
Sounds good. Well, I will definitely be grateful for your presence come not only the end of the show, but anytime you join the show, Claude. You're always a welcome addition to the panel. So, that being said, sorry, go ahead.
It's been very funny, you know. I did this prayer, you know. Oh God, you're a wonderful God. You're the best thing to have happened to me, you know. To love thee more dearly, to see me more clearly, day by day, by day by day. I think they thought they had a convert, but maybe they also realized I was being a bit tongue-in-cheek.
I mean, Steven sounded pretty sincere. Maybe I think it was Achilles that told me that Claude prayed. He's like, "Did you know that Claude prayed on the show?" And I was like, "What? What happened?"
I feel guilty now. I feel guilty.
Well, I'll be more than happy for you to end the show in the
At least we can have a laugh.
Exactly. So just to continue, oh, go ahead,
I
Pixie.
just got the sweetest pictures.
Oh,
So my super munchkin's getting married in November,
yes.
and she thinks she found the dress she wants, but she's so tiny. She's 4'9", you know.
My gosh.
So yeah, it's not like she could just walk into a dress shop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the lady that's going to custom make her dress was like, "Look, clearly I don't have anything in your size, not a single thing, but I can make the dress you want in your size, but I want you to like test out the fabric and stuff first." So They sent her the smallest one they had, and it's way big on her, but it's okay. They sent her the smallest one they had so she could try it out, you know?
Yeah.
Before they started making her dress, and she sent me pictures of her in it, and it's so pretty.
Aw, that's nice. Anyways, now I feel like an asshole for shifting the tone so much.
Yeah, let's talk about Epstein now.
Yeah, let's go back to talking about
You know
Epstein.
that,
Okay, back to ugly things. We just had a happy break. It's okay. Back to ugly things.
you know he may have been mentioned in there more than 1 million times, Trump.
That's what I've heard.
Is what they're saying.
That's what I've heard. Which, I mean, at that point, you may as well call them the fucking Trump files at that point. Why
That's
even
what they
call them
say,
the
yeah.
Epstein files? Like,
Wow.
fuck. I mean, we'll see. Honestly,
Yeah,
it'll
we'll see.
ultimately, only time will tell when a full release of them will tell whether or not that is in fact the case. But to keep reading, since the bipartisan duo pushed through the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which was signed into law by President Donald Trump in November, the U.S. government has released millions of pages of documents, including emails and photographs, relating to the criminal prosecution of the late sex offender Epstein and his socialite girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell. The inclusion of a name in the files does not imply wrongdoing by that person. However, the Justice Department's handling of the release of the files, which advocacy groups and Epstein's accusers said are far too heavily redacted, has come under fire. So who are the 6 men named by Kana? And why are the names blacked out in the Epstein files at all? So speaking from the House floor on Tuesday, Kana asked, "Why did it take Thomas Massey and me going to the Justice Department to get these 6 men's identities to become public?" Which is a very valid question. Referring to last year's law that mandated the release of the files, Kana said, "The Epstein Transparency Act requires them to unredact those FBI files, and yet the Justice Department said to me and to Congressman Massey, we just uploaded whatever the FBI sent us. That means the survivor statement to the FBI naming rich and powerful men who went to Epstein's island, who went to his ranch, who went to his home, and who raped and abused underage girls or saw underage girls being paraded, they were all hidden," the congressman said. "They were all redacted. It's a little bit of a farce." No. It's the definition of a fucking farce. If this is a little bit of a farce, then I scarcely can imagine what a full farce fucking is.
And to add to that, Aiden, they didn't redact many of the victims' photos and information, the Epstein victims. Yet they're redacting these rich and privileged people that were named.
Not only that, they've done like selective redacting to make things look like really, really bad. Like there's a picture of Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson on the private jet, you know, and like there's a bunch of like redacted kids.
Mm.
That was his sister. It was Janet Jackson's kids.
So
I'm just saying.
No. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
It's funny. That's funny.
Oh, ha 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 ha.
You don't think that's funny? Okay, maybe I'm dark humor, but it's still amusing. I think it's because this picture exists in the public already, and it amuses me that they did this not thinking that like anybody was going to see the original picture and be like, why did you just black out her kids' faces like they're being trafficked or something?
No, I can see the humor in that aspect. Yeah, I agree. The Justice Department is believed to be in possession of nearly 6 million pages of documents related to Epstein. They are from about 2 decades of investigations into allegations that had been serially sexually abused girls. He died by suicide in prison in 2019. Yeah, suicide. While awaiting a sex trafficking trial. By the way, that's one of the few things that actually united both sides of this, even at the time. I didn't hear a single person, unironically at the time, saying that he actually did die that way. But now all of a sudden, even though that was extremely bipartisan at the time, now it's all of a sudden shifted to being extremely partisan because Trump's got a second term and we all just have to plug our noses and pretend like that's not the case and that we weren't all united behind the idea that this was messed up. Like, just a total erasure of history as far as I'm concerned. But
I mean, it was never investigated, really. It was just the conclusion was given to us about, yeah, he killed himself. But I don't know that there was any like real investigation and information given to the American people. So it looks sketchy.
Well, from the very beginning, absolutely. Although all the files were supposed to have been released within 30 days of the Epstein Files Transparency Act being signed into law November 19th, so far 3.5 million have been. The files referenced by Khanna and Massey do not appear to implicate the 6 men in any specific crimes. However, Khanna said that the redactions of their names was a failure of the Justice Department, which it was. The California lawmaker accused the government of shielding their names for no apparent reason. Which, I mean, if that is in fact the case, if they literally were just redacting their names and they didn't actually do anything wrong, he's absolutely right. How is that going to build people's faith in this institution and build people's faith that this is being handled properly? If people that didn't even do anything wrong's names, if indeed this is true, which has yet to be proven, if that's the case, then imagine what fucking names are on there that did do absolutely horrible, obscene fucking things.
My problem is you just have to be consistent, right? You have to be consistent. It's like Trump. It's a Democrat hoax, but go look for Clinton's name, right?
Yeah.
Either you were on that flight because you were on a humanitarian mission and you had no idea, and fine, whatever. But just like hiding the fact that you were there, well, I don't know. It's just weird. It's just too many conflicting pieces at once. I'm like, can you pick a lane?
Yeah.
Aiden, you should watch these Pam Bondi hearings that are happening right now in front of Congress. I put a couple shorts up about it, but she's getting grilled on this stuff, because she was the one that said Trump was mentioned multiple times and there are files, they're on my desk, and then there's nothing to see here. She goes from one thing to another. So she's being called out on that stuff by the Congress people.
Good. I'm glad to hear that, and I'll definitely cover that on my next show then, if that's cool with you.
Yeah.
All right. I'll read a little bit more of this, and then I think I'm going to be allowing Claude to pray us out. What does that mean to pray us out? There are no words here. I don't see any words here.
I think it's time for gay us out. Gay us out, unfortunately. Yeah.
Fucking thing sucks. All right, let's finish this. Khanna identified one of the men in the files that he reviewed as Wexner, reviewed as Wexner, the billionaire, retail tycoon, and former owner of Victoria's Secret. Wexner had a lengthy friendship with Epstein, whom he hired to handle his investments for many years. While the relationship between Wexner and Epstein was already known, Khanna revealed that the FBI had also considered Wexner a conspirator with Epstein at some point during its investigation. No criminal charges were ever brought against the billionaire in connection with Epstein's crimes. On Tuesday, after Khanna's speech, the Justice Department unredacted parts of an internal document dated August 15th, 2019 from the FBI's Criminal Investigative Division, which included a reference to Wexner as a co-conspirator. The file can now be seen unredacted on the Justice Department's website for the Epstein files. Another of the men named by Khanna was Sultan Ahmed bin Sulaim, one of Dubai's most powerful and well-connected people. The chairman and chief executive officer of the logistics giant DP World exchanged messages with Epstein for years before and after Epstein pleaded guilty in 2008 to soliciting a minor for prostitution. Their friendly exchanges between the two include discussions about deals and mention bin Sulaim visiting Epstein's private island while sharing contacts in business and politics. The two men also shared salacious comments about women. What a shock. The removals of the redactions also confirmed that bin Sulaim's email address was used in a correspondence with Epstein in which Epstein remarked, "I loved the torture video." Yeah, that's not fucking anonymous at all whatsoever. By the way, it's been revealed that Epstein, I think, purchased it was in the 2010s at some point. He purchased over 330 gallons of sulfuric acid. So I wonder what he used those 330 gallons of sulfuric acid for. I'm sure he was only using those for scientific experiments, right? Never mind the fact that it can fucking melt bone. Yeah. Nothing but good and positive things coming out of that fucking purchase. The removals of the... Oh, no, I already read that part. Kana named 4 other men. Salvatore Naura, Zurab Mekaldezi. God, can you people get easier names, please? Like at least fucking...
What a fucked up name that is.
We're about to rind of...
I don't know. You say that.
Hey, shut fuck up, Pixie.
Well, I was quoting Brett Keane.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, you say that, but Super Munchkin's name is 5 letters, and you'd be surprised at how many people can't pronounce it. I'm serious. They call her all kinds of things that are not her name.
Mekaladezi? Mekaladezi. You give this a shot, Big Bad Mama.
Oh, I can barely read it. Leonie Leonov.
No.
And Nicola Caputo. There we go.
No. I want you to read Zarab.
Okay. Don't highlight it. Mekaladze, of course.
Oh, of course. It's only natural, right? Rich in storied traditions of whatever fucking country that name comes from.
That's like Smith in whatever country.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Mr. Brigabudugov. So Leonov. Of course, you chose the easiest name to read out of all of them immediately. And Nicola Caputo. However, Al Jazeera could not independently verify their identities or affiliations. A department spokesperson quoted by the U.S.-based broadcaster CBS News said that the lesser-known 4 of the 6 names mentioned by Kama are only included in this one document out of all of the files. Wexner is referenced nearly 200 times in the files, and Sultan bin Sulaim appears over 4,700 times. I'll just read this one last section here before we get going. How has the Justice Department responded? Todd Blanche, deputy... Thank you for finally having an easy-to-pronounce name, Todd. God bless you, sir. Todd Blanche, Deputy Attorney General of the Department of Justice, said some of the redacted names mentioned by Kana and Massey did appear unredacted in other documents in the Epstein files. In a post on X relating to email correspondence between Epstein and bin Sulaim, Blanche wrote, quote, "You know it's an email address that was not redacted. The law requires redactions for personally identifiable information, including if in an email address. And you know that Sultan's name is available unredacted in the files," end quote. Blanche also referred to another email exchange in which bin Sulaim's name came to be seen, but his email is blacked out. "Be honest and stop grandstanding," Blanche added in a comment aimed at Massey. However, the Epstein Files Transparency Act permits such redactions only when the information would identify a victim, which is kind of the main point of why I'm reading this entire thing, right? Is the fact that even after they're attempting to be held to account, they're still dragging their feet and not actually doing what they've been mandated to do here after all of this fucking time.
Right.
So when people go, "Oh, I'm so sick and tired of hearing about the Epstein files. Hasn't it been dealt with already?" That's a bunch of bullshit because they're still trying to fucking resist having all of them come out.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make. Exactly that is people that are using this term Epstein file fatigue.
Yeah.
Well, this stuff's happening right now. And, I'm sorry if it upsets you and your cult leader is in the files hundreds of thousands of times. It's happening right now, and it's happening to the people that run the country. So you know, whoever makes a statement like that it's Epstein file fatigue, I just, I don't know.
It puts
makes
a
me
horrible
nauseous.
taste
You know,
in my mouth
it's
as well.
even simpler for that for me, because they keep hiding behind the victims, but it's the victims who said stop it and release them.
Yeah.
Right. The
Right,
victims
right.
said release the files.
And even some of the people that are mentioned in there want to release all the files. I mean, Bill Clinton wants to testify about it.
Yeah. So I just wanted to get through that part. Claude, well, I'll let everybody have their closing statements really quickly, and then we'll let Claude have his as the last, and let him have his prayer to end the show. But I just wanted to say I had a really good time here. I had a good time hanging out with my friends, and I appreciate everybody that stopped by the show today. Thank you very much for supporting it. And yeah, take it away, whoever would like to go next.
Thanks, Aiden, for having us on. And hello to everybody in the chat. And we'll see you next time.
Pixie, would you have anything you'd like to say?
I thank you for your gracious tolerance in the stream and later days, pretty shiny people. Smile bunches, laugh lots, and have great fun.
Monsieur Bells, would you like to take it away, maestro?
Our Claude, which art in our imagination, wonderful be thy name. Thank you for all the poxes and illnesses you bring to us. You are a mighty Lord. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me. Let it be, let it be. Amen.
Thank you, Claude.
Thank you very much, Claude. With that being said, have a good one, everybody. Take care.